couple days we've had in the Ozarks. We thank you as we start to see the families start pouring in. We ask that you give us wisdom and discernment, and that we always represent to those families coming in that we are a place that honors you, honors faith, family, flag, and everything that stands for. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would also like to ask for a moment of silence for two of our team members, one who has recently undergone a surgical procedure and is recuperating, our Chief Eric Schmidt of our beloved Branson Police Department, and an upcoming procedure that our Kendall from Utilities is going to be having tomorrow. And so if you would all just please take a moment of silence, and if you could share some grace in your prayers for their well-being and their healthy recovery, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, we need a roll call, please.
Scholes.
Here.
LeBlanc.
Here.
Denham.
Here.
Milton.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Howden. Lucas. Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can I propose an amendment to the agenda?
Okay.
I move that we strike item 17 from the agenda. And maybe Dr. Lucas would second that. May I explain?
Well, yeah, I was going to say we have a motion and a second. Let's have a discussion.
Yeah, so the reason here is that at the end of February, we enacted a new ordinance for the city that changes the way things can get on our agenda. And I understand, this particular item had some legs under it before that ordinance change was made. But nonetheless, the ordinance says from that day on, to get on the agenda, you have to follow the new ordinance. And so the new ordinance would require that before we could actually vote on this item, that there would have to be a petition to the aldermen to have that discussion, to allow that discussion to proceed. And so in order to comply with our ordinance, that's why I made this motion. And I would suggest, because I don't want to judge the item itself, but I would suggest there might be the possibility then of, on the next agenda, getting the permission from the aldermen to proceed. And then on the following one, we should be able to act on it.
Any other discussion?
Well, in voting on that previous item, I did ask that question of whether things that were already in the pipeline. So I think this was already motioned with the first and second under the previous rules. I'm not seeing how the previous rules wouldn't apply to something that already had a first and a second.
Any other discussion?
That would be my question too. I mean, is there an answer to that? Or who would have that answer? Someone?
Well, what I can tell you is that technically there may be a little bit of confusion there, but practically speaking, this is something that the staff or city administrator or the mayor could put on the agenda if they wanted to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Solon. That's the other thing. I never would have made a motion or voted on that previous item if I believed I was stripping city admin from their ability to put something on the agenda, even if the genesis of that was two aldermen coming to them. Two aldermen coming to them can still allow for the city administrator to put something on the agenda, especially if it's something that we've been working on for quite a while. Under the previous auspices that it took two aldermen, and so I see it as something that the city administrator put on the agenda, and I'm prepared to vote on it tonight.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I did question that too when I was looking at this item. And it is definitely an item, and it does reflect that in the staff report that this was brought by 2 aldermen. So, and I think it's reinforced by the alderman doing the presentation. And so that's why I came to the conclusion I did.
Solon, do you have any input?
Well, what I was kind of getting at earlier was, staff can surely have this on the next agenda item, or the next agenda as an item, without having to go through that process. And, if that's what we have to do, we wait 1 meeting, we can still get this done. You could double read it if you wanted to.
Well, let's see how the board feels. We have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Marshall?
To be voted on earliest when? Solon.
So if the staff puts it on, we don't need the whole resolution process. The staff just puts it on, and you could just, it could be up next meeting.
I think this motion has the unfortunate consequences of potentially stripping the administration's ability to hear from 2 aldermen, and without going through the process. I mean, folks, let's just be straightforward. There could be from time to time controversial motions. And that controversial motion might be supported by 2 aldermen or 3 aldermen or whatever the case may be. In that case, it's appropriate for the process that we went through. But it doesn't strip the administrator's ability to put something on the agenda. And I'm concerned that this motion would have unintended consequences of creating that precedent.
Anybody in the audience have any? Time out, sorry. Artie, yes.
I disagree that this would be stripping the staff from bringing forth anything. I think that what we're trying to say is that we had just passed this ordinance at the last regular meeting saying the proper way to do this. And there are 2 members of the board that brought this forth tonight, not the administration. And so with that in mind, then we're trying to stay within the ordinance that we passed at the last meeting.
But Artie, you're missing a really key part of that ordinance, which is that sometimes things are timely. And the city administrator, if something gets brought to her by 2 aldermen, and she says it's timely, can put something on the agenda.
It doesn't say anywhere in that ordinance about timely.
So if I can make a couple more comments here, just hopefully mediate some of the stuff. First of all, I don't think anyone is under any illusion. Glenn is very good at the processes and personality likes to follow them. I get that, that's fine. But what I will say is that the point of, and everyone can go back and watch the meeting from last time, the point of that additional provision was to ensure staff had adequate time. And I can tell you that I have been working on this with Alderman Howden for long before we even contemplated that. So the purpose for which that was implemented has already been satisfied because we had plenty of staff time. This was not rushed on. So the point in putting that on, is already satisfied. The second thing I will say is that, let me think about this for a second, how to word this appropriately so that the right message is conveyed. Whether or not something says in the staff report a certain alderman's name, I don't necessarily think that is the same as saying that's who put it on the agenda. Now, did Marshall initially intend to put it on the agenda? Yes. Was this something that administration was in, full awareness of that was going on the agenda? Yes. Did it make sense for Alderman Howden to present the item because this was his initiative originally under the code that existed prior to the last meeting? Yes. So admin would have deferred to him even if we did put this on the agenda. We would have probably put him on the staff report because this was his item. So I don't think that you can equate what's listed on the staff report as who put it on the agenda. And sometimes you just have to use a little common sense. And, staff was fully aware, had plenty of time to take care of this. It's done. It's ready to go. And, this was all just waiting on a very long process for securing certain intellectual property rights that had been in the making. We finally got those. That was done, and so this one was already ready to go. There was no staff time that needed to be allocated to it. And so for that reason, I don't necessarily see a problem moving forward, knowing that city administration, along with Alderman Howden, had this one ready to go.
Thank you. Oh, Glenn.
I just want to comment. I question that very scenario too. Was this a staff request or an alderman request? And I was told very clearly it was an alderman request.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Marshall.
I think it is so important when we talk about speed of business to preserve the ability for Alderman Schultz to motion for something, Alderman Lucas to make a second, and City Administrator Kathy Stepp to put that on the next agenda without having that go to a vote. We have to preserve that. That's the speed that it's going to take to make sure that the citizens in our wards have things that are extremely timely.
Marshall, I believe that the vote would be to approve Glenn's motion to remove item 17 from this agenda.
What I'm saying is, my opinion is it's very important that that is voted down.
Then you have that right. Anybody in the audience
May
have
I
any comments?
make one more comment on that before we lose the
Sure.
thread? I don't disagree with what Marshall just said, right? That staff needs the ability, if they hear from some aldermen, even one alderman, doesn't have to be 2, 3, or 4, just one alderman, and if staff says, that really is important and we've really got to get this done, nothing in this motion takes that away. In fact, what Solon actually suggested was that's exactly what would happen at the next meeting, is that some staff member, or even you, Mr. Mayor, can do it and say, no, I want this on the agenda and I want it on now. And it'll be on the next agenda for a vote of the actual item, not a vote to proceed further. The actual item would then be on the agenda. So next meeting, you can have your vote.
Mr. Mayor, the idea that my motion and Ralph's second placed this on the agenda is very questionable. That motion was made in the year 2025. This has been in the works for months and months and months, with me constantly calling Solon, forgive me, Solon, and saying, hey, is this going to be on the agenda? Hey, is this going to be on the agenda? Then with a message from Hillary, Solon, and Kathy saying, hey, this is on the agenda, placed by the administration because they did their due diligence and figured everything out.
Okay.
And just to kind of clarify, I just want to make sure everyone appreciates, especially the audience, that this is never going to happen again because it is a product of something that happened between 2 meetings where we made a change, okay? So while this may seem a little chaotic, it's the last time that it will ever happen. Hopefully, there's never going to be that again. But I will agree with Marshall. I did contact him and let him know that I was going to have it on this agenda. So that being said, there's nothing in the code that says that just because an alderman puts something up for a motion doesn't mean that a city staffer can't put something on the agenda. I don't see a problem proceeding technically. I can see Glenn's insights there, and I appreciate that because they are definitely good thoughts. But I think in this scenario, the way that it actually ended up playing out, I don't have a problem proceeding.
Thank you, Solon. Any members of the audience wishing to discuss this? Hello, Gary.
Am I correct? This resolution doesn't involve whether or not the board's going to discuss it. This is something the board has already discussed, and this is a resolution being presented for action.
The board has not discussed this.
Is it a resolution being presented for action? The board's going to vote on whatever that resolution says?
Is it a resolution? Yes.
Then it's not in the initial stages, it's at the end stages. It's something that's happened after the board's already discussed it. What am I missing here? I've been listening to all this simplification and I'm totally confused. I mean, even Alderman Lucas had to be reminded to second the motion, so I mean.
There was no discussion of this item by the board. Let's be very clear on that. The board never has discussed this item.
And that's correct, and I would agree with that characterization. And truthfully, I think the reality is that you can synthesize what Glenn's concern is with what the facts actually were, what got this on the agenda.
I can, but we get stuff in front of this board all the time, and you discuss it, and you vote on it, and it's a resolution. It's not like you're changing an ordinance or something. My gosh, we make things kind of complicated sometimes, but thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Anybody else in the audience? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. Oh, Artie.
Sorry to be a bother. I was just asking Marshall what happened with that ordinance in 2025. Well, it never got brought before the board, so the board never got to discuss it before. So it's not like this is a replay. This is the first time it's been brought before the board, because it never got brought before the board before.
And Mayor, if that's the case, then that would buttress the position that this was truly brought by city staff. So again, I think in either scenario, the fact that this is something that I had already been asked to work on long ago, had been working on it, and then I told Alderman Howden that it was going to be on this week's agenda, is clear and evidence for me to know that this was put on by someone with authority to put something on the agenda. I worked with the city clerk to make sure that it got on the agenda. Marshall didn't work with her on that, I did. And so the fact that he's listed on the staff report is not really determinative for me. And I do see Glenn's point, because we did just pass this, but I think under these facts, it's not a concern, and I'm glad that this won't ever happen again, because, the question that we probably could have addressed in a perfect world is, are all the previous motions for items on the agenda grandfathered in? And we didn't discuss that last time. If we would have,
I did ask that, Solon.
What's that?
I did ask that.
Well, but it wasn't put into the language of the bill, and so it wouldn't have had any effect. And so either way, though, I don't see this being an issue that's going to come up again, but be warned, Alderman, and, if you have something that you had before us before, to avoid this issue in the future, you either just ask the staff to put it on for you or go through the regular process. And the whole point of that amendment, keep in mind, is Aldermen can surely come to staff or to the mayor and advocate for something and ask the mayor to have it put on the agenda, and they don't have to get that resolution process. And so, again, that's because mayors and cities have the ability to, and it's their responsibility to carry out and direct staff and be the executive of the city, not the alderman. And so they're ultimately responsible if staff's time is diverted from more important things. And so, again, if you have things that have been put before the board now with this new change, I would encourage you to have staff or the mayor put those on the agenda, or know that you probably should follow that process that we codified last session.
Okay, in the meantime, we have a motion and a second. Glenn, would you please read the motion again, please?
Yeah, my motion was to strike item 17 from the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Schultz,
Yes.
LeBlanc,
Nay.
Denham,
No.
Cooper,
No.
Howden,
No.
Lucas. So the result of the vote is 2 yeses, 4 nos. The motion fails.
Okay, we're moving on to the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting.
Mayor, just back up just a little tiny bit because I think we have employee of the month.
Oh,
first.
I'm so sorry. So City Attorney Solon will be presenting a Employee of the Month for March 2026.
All right, can we reset, put some smiles on our face, appreciate the sunshine out there, all right? I am actually really excited about this one. When I hired Thomas, I wanted to give him this award from the get-go. I was swamped, trying to keep up. And what a breath of fresh air. What an excellent attorney. I called his wife and I said, please be there. I know he probably doesn't want you there, but please be there. Thomas knows this. I think I probably tell them this on a weekly basis, that I really appreciate him. I appreciate his experience, his wisdom, his counsel, and his dedication to the city of Branson. For those that don't know what Thomas does for us, he's one of our assistant city attorneys. We have 3 of them. Thomas handles all of our prosecution. So prior to my time here, we didn't really have a legal department, and that was one of the things that I was tasked with creating. Before, we had a law firm handling it. So when the attorney that was kind of housed inside the city hall on a contractual basis got too busy, she would farm stuff out to their associates. Well, that's a really nice benefit. But then when you get appointed as a city attorney, you don't have associates to farm stuff out to. So you kind of got to rely on some other people somewhere, right? So then enter Thomas. When Thomas started, we had a caseload that really needed some work. He immediately got working on it and really cleaned it up. And now, as I 100% have great confidence in him. Judge Motley, as I've talked to him on occasion, has said very complimentary things about Thomas. I've never once received a single complaint from a defendant that's come in our municipal court. Not one time. Think about that. They handle hundreds of tickets, not happy scenarios, right? Many of you guys have gotten tickets. I've gotten tickets. You know, it's a thing of life sometimes. You kind of get lost in the moment sometimes, and you go a little bit over the speed limit, or you don't put your seatbelt on, whatever. It's not a fun moment. But you come to court, and you're hoping that someone will be reasonable with you and appreciate your humanness, and that's Thomas Condro. So I'm grateful for him. I'm grateful for his criminal law expertise that he has. He was a criminal prosecutor for 13 years prior to the city of Branson. Did I get that right, Thomas? 13 years. You have a guy here who was a Taney County prosecutor. I think most of it was in Taney County. Is that right? For 13 years, he prosecuted cases on behalf of the state of Missouri. I've also done that. It's a wonderful job, and it's a lot of experience that the city of Branson benefits from. And as far as the human side of him, it's also a beneficial thing. And so I am super thrilled. Again, I had to wait till he passed his 6 months probation before he was eligible to get this award. But I actually tried before that, and they said no. So, and I'm really grateful for that. So Thomas, why don't you come on up? And Thomas hasn't seen this yet, and I'm going to point this out. So Thomas drives a cool little Mazda Miata, which he probably didn't want me telling everyone, but it's a cool car, and he gets the parking spot for the Employee of the Month. He also plays pickleball, I hear. So anyone want to challenge Thomas? Maybe we'll take it outside the courtroom for a different plea deal. No, I'm just kidding. And so, yeah, so a couple of things about Thomas here that we presented, and so I guess we'll take a picture now.
Thank you. Thomas, would you like to share a few words? Oh. Congratulations, Thomas. So now, this is the public comment section of the Board of Aldermen meeting. At this time, the board will hear the citizens who have signed up in the order that they are listed. Please note the clerk will let the speakers know when they have 30 seconds left, and a notification will sound when their time is up. We ask that speakers wrap up their comments upon hearing the 30-second warning. If a speaker would like a board member to bring an item down from the consent agenda for additional discussion, please note this during your comments. Please come to this freestanding microphone and to address the board. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers this evening?
We do. We have one speaker, Julie Metz, speaking on public apology.
It's okay, Julie.
Julie Metz. I live in Lake Taneycombe Acres, Ward 3. And last time I was here, I accused Alderman LeBlanc of calling us ignorant. And at his request, I reviewed the tape, and he was not the alderman that called us ignorant. I immediately called and apologized to him, and I'm apologizing to him publicly. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Julie. Is that it?
It wasn't an alderman at
Hill?
all.
Yeah, it was an alderman.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So next is the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member of the board or staff would like to have moved down from the consent agenda to ask additional questions or make comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please read the items on the consent agenda?
Your Honor, the items on the consent agenda are as follows. Approval of the Board of Aldermen minutes for February 24th, 2026 special meeting and February 24th, 2026 regular meeting and March 4th, 2026 special meeting. Acknowledge receipt of monthly contract report from February 2nd, 2026 to March 1st, 2026. Final reading of Bill Number 6648, an ordinance approving the petition to establish the Grand Country Resort Community Improvement District and establishing the Grand Country Resort Community Improvement District. Final reading of Bill Number 6649, an ordinance approving the cooperative agreement with the Grand Country Resort Community Improvement District relating to the development agreement regarding Grand Country Wilderness LLC and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents related thereto. Final reading of Bill Number 6650, an ordinance approving the development agreement between the city and Grand Country Wilderness LLC and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents related thereto. And final reading of Bill Number 6651, an ordinance approving a contract with Cigna for City of Branson medical, dental, and vision insurance coverages and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents related thereto. Your Honor, that concludes the reading of the consent agenda.
So do I have a motion approving all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Madam Clerk, would you provide a roll call, please?
Scholes?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing Baker Tilly U.S. LLP to engage in additional economic development due diligence on the proposed indoor sports facility.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Kathy Stepp. Wow. Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Alderman, Mr. Mayor, and members of the audience tonight. The resolution that you've got in front of you this evening has to do with authorizing our consultants, Baker Tilly, to conduct additional economic development due diligence in our pursuit of bringing this long-discussed and wished-for sports facility to Branson. We've been doing a lot of different work behind the scenes, some work that we've been done to date has been some field verification and land samples on the actual parcel that we are looking to eventually purchase for this facility. We've been working with sports facilities companies, which is a name known to most people that have been paying close attention to this project. They had developed a multi-year operating pro forma based on a potential, a dream, if you will, of what a facility would be and what those dollars would bring in. And they've developed a pitch deck for us as well, and when they were doing their work with the Taney County Partnership. But of course, now we need to Bransonize this idea and make it suitable, see if it's suitable, right, to put it on that land that we had designated to purchase in the new TIF development that we've all heard a lot about. So we've also been engaged with Navigate, and Navigate is the consulting company that helped us on our police building project and saved us well over $1 million in taxpayer money by their services. They serve as what's called an owner's representative, to where they actually are always looking at if there's discrepancies in an architect's drawing versus the builder actually having to make it in real life. Is there a more affordable way to do that? Is there a more beneficial way to build something and save money? And it was a wonderful investment for us. So they've really earned our trust, and we have been working with them on helping us to evaluate the feasibility when it comes to the site acquisition. Many of you probably know that we've just extended our option to purchase on that particular parcel because we want to do more homework. Before we go investing millions of dollars of taxpayer money into a project, we want to make sure we've dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's and have done extra due diligence on that particular parcel, and again, the feasibility of that building on that particular site. Baker Tilly, we want to be able to authorize them to do a really concerted effort on a market and demand analysis, an economic impact analysis, so that when we go out to the voters eventually to find out if they want us to bring this here and to authorize us to do that, that Baker Tilly will have helped us put a financing plan together and how we plan to fund it, and also that we can show our homework, that we have turned over every rock to make sure that every question that could be asked will be answered. We'll be able to show our homework in that regard and be able to give all of you the advice and guidance upon which to make a sound decision in moving this potential project forward for the city of Branson, and really, I would say, for our region. This could be a very poignant and significant turning point for the city, bringing year-round economy to Branson, something people have been begging and praying for probably ever in this city, and we've got some real opportunities here. So because it is such a significant public investment, the design, the construction, the operation of this facility, we again wanted to come before you tonight, and Colby Kershanowski is here joining us from Baker Tilly. He's going to give you what the scope of those services will include and fill in any of the blanks that I may have left out. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. Appreciate you having us here tonight. If we don't already have our presentation up, I'd be happy to share our brief presentation for everybody. If you'll let me know. I think that we have that up.
That was good,
It's up,
Colby.
Colby.
Great. As Kathy noted, we're really here to discuss the next stage of due diligence. With respect to Baker Tilly, who is the city's financial advisor, our role is always to provide the best possible financial due diligence for the city, so you can make the best decisions possible. So we will get into the next stage of that work. So we are considering the market feasibility and financing plan for the proposed indoor sports facility. As mentioned, our goal is to provide the city with the best advice. Occasionally that involves bringing in parties, Baker Tilly and others who have specialized industry experience. Sports tourism, especially youth sports tourism, is a very specialized industry. While Baker Tilly has a lot of talent, we decided to go out on the city's behalf to research the best possible firms or organizations that do the work that allows the city to have the greatest information on all the aspects of the trade area and market related to the proposed facility. Following that process, we found and selected HVS, Convention Sports Entertainment Facilities Consulting, as the ideal firm to partner with in order to provide this service to the city of Branson. I'll discuss the scope and the cost in this presentation. I'll try to keep it very brief and be available for questions. The scope we are proposing consists of 4 tasks. The first is the market and demand analysis. This is work that we anticipate to be done by HVS, and it is the most extensive research element of the project. And this is what really goes out and evaluates the trade area demand and other market and economic factors necessary to understand before constructing the facility. And it will really influence the city's decisions on the best way to proceed with the ultimate project. The next is the financing projections. There's economic analyses. One of the major drivers of them is to have a good understanding of what the actual fiscal and economic impacts of a proposed project are. And this will allow the city to understand what the anticipated impacts of the facility are, not just in the area immediately surrounding the city, but for not just for the immediate area around the facility, but for the city at large. We again expect this to be conducted by HVS as part of their full comprehensive package. The next is the impact analysis. This is taking those direct inputs from the activity at the facility and all the work they've done to date and modeling not just the direct economics, but the indirect and induced economic impacts of that facility going forward. Task 4 is where Baker Tilly, we return to our traditional role as the city's financial advisor. We take all of the information available for the project, including the good work we anticipate to be done by HVS, and assist the city in developing a financing plan everywhere from establishing the capital stack to evaluating the facility outcomes to helping strategize on funding strategies for the city going forward with the project. We also have a task 5 contemplated, which is really just any additional work related to however the city seeks to proceed with getting this facility funded and developing information and work product that allows the city to be successful in that pursuit. For the cost, we anticipate that the total cost of all of this due diligence for this very specialized analysis to be about $113,000. Most of that is the work of the specialist firm, HVS, to do their market analysis, financial projections, and their impact analysis. We anticipate that will be their all-in cost, not including expenses. For our portion, we anticipate that to be a maximum amount of $40,000 for all the variety of tasks that could be included in Baker Tilly's preparation of the financial plan and any additional analysis included in stages 4 and 5 that we outlined in this presentation. I promise to keep it brief, and that's the nature of our presentation and what we anticipate the board, what we're asking the board to consider. With that, I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Colby. Anybody on the board have any questions for Colby? Anybody in the audience? Well, hearing none, let's vote.
If I can, just one question that was asked of me of a citizen, and I didn't really know the answer. So if I could maybe ask Kathy. Somebody asked me why this wouldn't go out for some kind of competitive bid. Can you fill us in?
This is actually an expansion of services that we're currently under contract with Baker Tilly. And this is really their bailiwick, right, is to be the chief financial advisor for the city. So they're already under contract. And we're just adding this task to their originally assigned tasks as part of our contract.
Thank you.
So no further discussion. All in favor to pass, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Branson, Missouri, stating facts and reasons for the necessity to amend and increase the fiscal year 2026 budget in the general fund due to contractual services.
Do I have a motion to adopting this resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll get a staff report from Allison. Hello, Allison.
Hello. This budget amendment is to cover the funds that were just adopted in that contractual services line. So it's $113,500 to our contractual service admin line in our general fund to cover the contractual services that Baker Tilly will be providing. Are there any questions?
Does the board have any questions? Does the audience have any questions? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6652, an ordinance amending the adopted 2026 budget for the City of Branson to increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2026 in the general fund due to contractual services.
You have heard the first reading of Bill 6652. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Staff report from Allison.
So this is once again the contractual services with Baker Tilly in the amount of $113,500 to our contractual service admin line in the general fund. I could have said ditto, but I think I said that faster.
That's cute. Does any member of the board have any questions or comments? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, I move to read Bill number 6652 for its final reading due to timing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any members of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Any members of the audience? Hearing none, let's vote to have a second read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please provide the introduction for this item?
Your Honor, this is a final reading of Bill Number 6652, an ordinance amending the adopted 2026 budget for the City of Branson to increase the city's annual budget for fiscal year 2026 in the general fund due to contractual services.
You've heard the final reading of Bill 6652. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any member of the board wishing to speak regarding this matter? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Schultz?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0, motion carries. Your Honor,
Thank you, Allison.
the next item is a resolution of the Board of Aldermen consenting to the mayor's appointment to the Board of Directors of the Grand Country Resort Community Improvement District.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll now have a staff report from Hillary.
So on the consent agenda, we just approved the SID petition for the Grand Country Resort. And in that petition, they appointed 3 members. They earmarked 2 positions for city representatives, and this resolution is appointing one of them. It's going to be City Administrator Kathy Stepp, and this resolution formally appoints her.
So we're appointing Kathy to their
Correct.
CID. Any comments or questions from the board?
Yes.
Artie?
What was that? Observation. At several of our meetings here the last few months, we keep hearing from Kathy that we just don't have the bandwidth to take on all that stuff. And I guess my question is, if the staff and administration doesn't have the bandwidth, then why are we appointing them to these committees that takes away from their regular responsibilities? Wouldn't it be advisable to consider maybe putting board members on those committees?
Kathy?
I was asked if I would serve in this capacity, and thank you, Alderman Lucas, for thinking of me. I appreciate you. This really doesn't take a lot of time. It's very rare that we have to have meetings, and when we do, it's by telephone conference. And the last meeting, I think, when we were kind of getting everything set up, or it was maybe one of the other SIDs that I'm on the board for, was like a 15-minute call. So I am pleased to participate to make sure the city's interests are represented appropriately and fully. So thank you.
Any, Artie?
Well, I appreciate that. How many committees have you been appointed to? Okay. See, I guess that's what I'm getting at. You know, you're talking about if it's just 15 minutes apiece, you know, that's getting on toward an hour of your day. And I just think that possibly it would be something to consider, that rather than putting it upon administration and stretching them even thinner for a few hours a day, to maybe consider putting some members of the board on instead. You know, we've got time, except Clay.
I'm already on this board.
Take him off.
No way. Well, it was suggested to me that Kathy would be the person to put on this. So it's not like I came up with it. Somebody whispered in my ear and said, here's who you should nominate.
Mayor, I think that we have Economic Development Council that handled this deal that would like to comment a couple of things. I believe she's on. Lindsay?
She's coming into the meeting, one moment. You have the floor, Lindsay.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me. So really, I mean, it's like Kathy said, the city gets 2 representatives on this 5-member CID board to be able to represent the city. So yes, we need city employees on the board to serve as that function. The reason I prefer to not have Board of Aldermen members on CID boards is because the Board of Aldermen will approve the budget. So it is the budget of the CID. So it is difficult to have a board member serving in those 2 different capacities. So we really prefer to have city employees on the CID boards representing the city representing the city.
Thank you for that clarity. Any other questions from the board? Any questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Push your button. Roll call vote, please.
No.
Scholes,
Yes.
LeBlanc,
Yes.
Denham,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Howden,
Yes.
Lucas.
No.
The result of the vote is 5 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6653, an ordinance approving the agreement with the Branson Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce and Convention and Visitors Bureau Incorporated for the use of tourism tax contingency funds for the downtown Branson Spring Fling Festival and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6653. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We'll get a staff report from Heather.
Is it a contest to see who can speak the fastest tonight? Right, I'm going to enter. Maybe. All right, you already know who we are, what we do. I don't think I need to read the slide about our resources. You know, you're familiar with the graphics, the PR, all of the offerings that our organization brings to the table. Let's talk about the event itself. It'll be May 15th through the 16th. It's called the Spring Fling, Blooming with Heritage. We already have a logo created, and there's a summary there of some of the things that we'll be featuring. I'm happy to announce that we found a reenactor who will play the role of Patrick Henry, Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death, strolling around downtown Branson, and we're also working on some other reenactors for that weekend. So very red, white, and blue, patriotic, 250th Incorporated, on a weekend that we know will be really beneficial for historic downtown. Some of the items there, similar in terms of what we brought for the Fall Fest, obviously different season, different colors. Little highlights of what we'll do: balloon arches everywhere, reenactors, pinwheels all throughout the flower beds, very patriotic feels, selfie stations, places for people to take pictures, lots of patriotism. Here's what we'll do and what the ask is in terms of the budget. We have it broken down there based on, this really mirrors what we did for the Fall Fest. We know that that worked really well. We came in right at budget. We really watched our pennies on this, and we know exactly where we want to invest those dollars. The music performers, artists, and reenactors, face painters are definitely a key part. The music was a huge success for Fall Fest. Having those strolling musicians that were all throughout historic downtown just made it such an incredible experience. We've highlighted some of the items, the ways that we'll market and promote what we're going to do. We're ready to start talking about it as early as next week on KY3 with our weekly segment. in our newsletters, across our website, our social media. We're ready with some teaser videos to start telling the story, and poster creation, putting those all throughout downtown, social media advertising throughout our drive markets, and then, of course, a digital campaign. The budget is all outlined there, and we'll mirror what we did with our advertising and promotion. The great thing with the digital piece is we were able to track and monitor everything that was done for the Fall Fest. We'll do the same thing for the Spring Fling and be able to show exactly how many people came into the market, how much money they spent, all those great things. And this is how we'll measure the results. We'll be looking at that increased visitation. We'll be looking at visitor spending. And we also want to just make sure that everyone knows about how beautiful historic downtown is and how fun will that be with red, white, and blue. It's a new event that can turn into an annual event and increase business participation. I think we've got a nice turnout here from our downtown businesses who are very excited about the event. And of course, increasing traffic to the downtown area. That is what I have to offer. We can go back to the budget if you have any questions.
So what is you have a specific request?
Yes, 57,000. Exactly, from the
Who brought the
contingency.
checkbook? Oh, Allison, is she here? Where's this funds going to come from?
Tourism contingency funds, Mayor.
Oh, from the contingency fund. So the contingency funds are funds that we have set aside that are not earmarked for anything, except for projects like this that come up. I
Correct.
think it's a great idea. Any aldermen have any comments or questions?
Just a quick comment. I also think it's a great idea. I mean, the Fall Festival was such a success, and I heard from many merchants that even rolling into January, that business was up for a fairly high level compared to prior years. So I think there's a lot of great things going on downtown. And I said it the other day, for me, it's just great to see all the merchants getting together and planning these things. That alone is just huge progress for our downtown community, and I just hope we can keep that rolling. So thanks again for all of your leadership and pulling this together. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, and the downtown businesses deserve a lot of kudos because they came together. It's fun going to these meetings. I know when we very first started, there was a little bit of tension walking into the room, but now I think we're all friends. We like our weekly meetings. We like hanging out together. Look, some of them dressed in red, white, and blue this evening. We're like a little downtown posse.
Artie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that if Heather does as good a job as she did with the KY3 stuff when all of us, Marshall and I and some others were down there for that great little thing we did in the morning, it'll be awesome.
Thank you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and something for us to invite and tell people all about, and it just falls into our red, white, and blue patriotism and the 250th.
So to get a feeling from the community, can I see a show of hands of who would like to approve this request? Wow, that's pretty much everybody.
Do you want to hear from anyone from downtown? I believe someone's available to speak if you wanted to.
Sure. Always want to hear from downtown.
It's me again, Linda Cherry. I think Heather and Chris and I and everybody that sits up there, we are so excited about this project. And giving us the leap again, like I said, with Fall Festival was great. But this one we realize if you give us this leap, we too need to carry the flag and move it forward. So may I take a few minutes to tell you some of the input that the downtown businesses are going to do on top of this?
Love to hear it.
Would you like to hear that? Okay, how fast can I talk? Angie from the Branson and Convision Visitors Bureau. She's going to help with signboard. She's here. She's been to our meetings. So we have extra punch and push in that direction. Steve from Dick's Five and Dime has a $20,000 investment in new lighting coming for this event, along with other events that will happen throughout the year. So big investment on his part. Mary from Peter Engler Designs, she's going to have live artists, wood carvers. She's got a mural, a photo op area that she's going to build, like a, cute, take my picture with my friends type of thing, which will be a lot of fun, and all this following this heritage and blooming with heritage motion. The historic downtown Sid's putting in beautiful banners. If you haven't seen, I'm going to bet you guys have all seen them, but they're going to be all through downtown, so that's a huge investment on their part. We'll be doing red stars in our building along with big blooms out front and photo ops, as well as a hands-on craft station in heritage arts that the kids can come into the building and do, i.e. soap making, pinwheel, whatever. We'll be doing some fun things like that. Sandpiper Landing Inn, Deanna, she's got some great things going on with bikes and a postcard visual up there and huge decorations. Please know, anytime we say decorations, it's probably a minimum of $1,000 out of all of our pockets. When you talk banners and flowers and front door displays and flowers throughout your building, minimally. So know that those kind of investments. The downtown, the Centennial Museum, Terry's been working on a wonderful historic walking posters, so we get to see Branson from the beginning forward. This particular Heritage Blooming event is something we're excited about, and it starts like when Branson started. So we want to kind of give some history from 1911. But we also see, like, next year we could move to the 20s and bebop, or we could go, and we could do speakeasies and have fun, and the next year we can go to the 40s and 50s. But we see legs on this to take us farther, okay? Pearson Chad at Summit, they're doing investments on the front porch. They're going to put some outdoor seating out there, again, theming it. Plum Bazaar, they're going to do fun things down on their corner. The Irresistible Candy Shop, Brooks, Simply Irresistible, they just did big murals inside of their store, big investment. They're going to be doing some more with all of this. I appreciate your listening, because a lot of these people have come to these meetings over and over and have brainstormed as to what they can do. So thank you for your time again. Megan with One of Kind, she's going to just do all kinds of fun pinwheels for the kids and things like that. Tim and Andy at Davis Candy, that was actually started in 1911 in Chillicothe, Missouri. I got a great lesson on candy making last week. And they have the old equipment that's there from 1911, from the original candy shop. That's also went out to Silver Dollar City. So they get to actually show people candy that's being made on old equipment. So we're super excited about all these things. And they're going to do some reenactments too. Brandy of the Branson Cafe, she's going to offer red, white, and blue cinnamon rolls and sprinkles. And we get down to Heather and Pam from the chamber. Thank you. Beyond. So I didn't read you half of what they're going to do. I read you the highlights. I encourage you as aldermen to come to one of our meetings and be a part of this excitement that's happening. And we appreciate the boost. If you'll please do that, it would be amazing. And again, we understand we too have to carry this flag forward as it moves forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Sure.
Kathy?
Thank you. Linda, thank you so much. And to everybody that's here from downtown, thank you. I just want to tell you on behalf of city staff how heartwarming it is now that the downtown project, that renovation and refurbishment and all the disruption, right, that everybody had to go through to get us to this point. And now to see you all so fully invested, even more than what you've ever been before, to not just be able to show off the beauty of, the things that the city did down there, but to take it into your own hands now and really make it something that nobody ever imagined it could be. And always the credit goes back to you all. So thank you for your continued investment, your patience and time and understanding, as difficult as it was. But man, we are just getting started. What a year it's going to be for downtown. Between this and Harley, I love it. So thank you, everybody, for your efforts.
Yep, thank you so much. So any questions, comments from the board? Ruth?
Mr. Morris, 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out, like, how do we incentivize downtown? How do we get more feet on the ground downtown? And we all knew that the proprietors downtown had that life within them, and they just needed a spark to ignite them. And, you know, this improvement downtown that, you know, should have been done years and years ago, when we finally commit to doing it, and even though, you know, it was disruptive and it was on some level at times evil, but all those things happened, and we got through it. And this board has long been wanting downtown to be that beacon of light that it's becoming. And we are proud of what we did down there because it makes you guys look top shelf. You guys can now shine and do the hospitality the way you do it inside your businesses. And that lighting downtown and that identifying downtown is just, it was this board's gift to this community, because we knew that if we could inspire you, you guys would take up the banner and you would take hold of that flag and you would ride with it. And we are proud to ride with you, 1,000%. Thank you so much for everything you guys are doing.
Thank you, Ralph. Ruth?
Just a huge thank you, Pam, Heather, Angie, all of downtown. It is so beautiful, and I am so excited because I know this is just the beginning. Thanks for all you do. We're just excited to see what the future holds.
Anybody else? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you, Heather.
at the request of a few citizens, I am making the motion that we read Bill number 6653 for its final reading due to timing.
We have a motion. Or do you want to push your button?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the board? Questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please read this for the final reading?
Let's vote on that one really quick. Vote on the reading it for the second time.
All in favor of reading it for the second time, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, this is the final reading of Bill number 6653, an ordinance approving the agreement with the Branson Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce and Convention and Visitors Bureau Incorporated for the use of tourism tax contingency funds for the downtown Branson Spring Fling Festival and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement.
So you've heard the final reading of Bill number 6653. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll ask Hillary for a roll call vote, please.
Schultz?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
Lucas?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 6-0. Motion carries. Your Honor, the next item is a presentation by Angie Teal on the 2025 Year-End Convention Center Report.
Okay, if it's a competition of who's going to talk fast, you have my report in front of you. Are there any questions? Oh, darn it. Okay. Board of Aldermen, Mayor Kathy, good evening. I'm here to present on the 2025 report for the Branson Convention Center. The big button in the middle, Chad? Okay, I mess this up every time. 2025 was definitely a year for us. We had some highs and some lows. Here we'll go through a couple of each of those. We had 228,327 people through the door, which is just about 4.5% over 2024. 479 event days, which is a little bit lower than 24, but every event averaged just over 3 event days, which is up from 2024. And then, of course, our economic impact for the year was $74 million. Year-end financials, so we came in at a net loss of $418,000, and I know, Mayor, you're going to say that's a big difference from the year before. I know, still within budget, but I'm going to call 2025 a bit of a rebuilding year. 2024, we definitely went through and just kind of got rid of some unnecessary spending. In 2025, we went through and really honed in on some of the things that we should have been doing. A lot of that was increasing our IT security to make sure that we are protecting that critical infrastructure. And then there were some also additional expenses because if you guys don't know, we had a little bit of a flood in May. So we had some expenses related to that. And then we also had some additional expenses related to the passing of one of our employees. So, but on the good news is that we did increase gross income over 2025 budget as well as 2024 actuals. And then just operating expenses were a little bit higher, but we feel like they were good money well spent because anytime you have any break in your critical infrastructure, that could cost a lot more than what it did on a monthly basis. Room utilization, we were on average throughout the whole facility, we're just over 50%, which is up from 42% in 2024. Our highest performing spaces are obviously the ballroom, Short Creek 3, and Short Creek 4. Still some room for improvement on that Sunday and Monday business, but there's not a lot of events out there that want to be on Sunday and Monday, so we're trying to figure out how we can utilize some one-day events and things like that to increase that occupancy. But if you take a look at, where was it? Like Taneycomo A on Thursday and B, they're at over 80%, which is incredible. So just trying to figure out how we can push that out to Sundays and Mondays. Our event organizer feedback continues to be in a promoter status and extremely strong. We're at a 91% satisfaction for overall experience, overall quality at 95%, and then the facility meeting the event planner needs is at 100%, which is pretty cool. That means some of the soft services that we offered newly in 2025 are hitting the mark. Attendee feedback, we had over 5,000 attendees provide in-the-moment responses to us. There are QR codes posted throughout the facility, so at any time, a guest can provide their feedback, whether it's good or negative, and we're able to respond to those to make sure that we're giving real-world or real-time solutions versus waiting for attendees to get back from a conference. Then they send out an attendee survey, they get the results in 2 to 3 weeks, and then we have lost the opportunity to provide a good experience if somebody had any issues. So these QR codes are allowing us to respond in real time. We did some really cool sales efforts this year. We went to Springfield and we utilized the Pie Safe downtown to take some pies to some Springfield business to try to bring those down. You know, that long, super long drive down 65 that people from Springfield tend to not want to make, but we were hoping to entice them with pies. And it's working. I think we're starting to see more traction from Springfield businesses. We hosted the CITA site tour, Helms Briscoe site tour, and the Land O'Lakes site tour. So the Land O'Lakes site tour actually did something really cool. The culinary staff actually made a mold out of butter for their event with their event logo. So that was really cool. And we actually just hosted them about a month ago from that site tour. So that was definitely worth it. And then we booked 58 events in 2025 for 2025, which is, I mean, that's a lot of events for anything, but for anybody, but to host them in the year for the year was pretty incredible. And then in 25 for future years, we booked $3.7 million worth of business. Some highlights, I don't know, well, I'm affectionately naming it Aquageddon because that's how I deal with stress, is I give it fun little names. So of course in May we did have a flood from a water line break, and it was just over $600,000 in loss, but I'm happy to report that we did not have to cancel any business. We think we had to displace one event to a different room, but the quick action of the team and the city staff to mitigate the loss that we had there was incredible and super beneficial for that, because I mean, we had temporary carpet, we had to get new carpet, we had sound panels, we had electrical, because guess what? Electric and water don't mix, and our electric panels are in the floor in this room. So the fact that we had basically all of that stuff have to be replaced, and then we didn't have to cancel any events was pretty incredible. But now we have new carpet again in the ballroom. It was just shy of a year old, but now it's brand new again. I mean, it was a little bit of a stressful time. Okay, so, and then some of the new equipment and concepts that we offered over the year, we have a new Rational combi oven. So if you know any chefs and you wanna get on their good side, just say the words Rational combi oven and they'll be super excited. This thing will wash your car if you ask it to. It can saute, it can steam, it can bake, it can do anything. And the food quality coming out of the kitchen has drastically improved with the addition of that equipment. We purchased our own pipe and drape, which allows us to decorate shows. Obviously, the new parking pay system that we purchased last year but are implementing this year has been a huge improvement from the guest experience. Upgraded security system, those are always good. Network switches, all the fun stuff that people don't get to see but keeps everything going. And then the addition of the AI checkout units in our concession stands. We also launched an online exhibitor store in the middle of 2025, so we're excited to see the continued growth that that's going to offer in 2026. We revamped our food and beverage presentations. We did our very first off-site catering at the Blue Angel show, and we also work with the Branson Scenic Railway to offer their charcuterie boxes for their VIP ticket holders. And then, of course, we launched a new Branson Convention Center commercial featuring an original song from the Haygoods. We also hosted trade crowd management training. We opened that up to the community because Life Safety Code requires one trained crowd manager for every 250 people in the building. So we wanted to make sure that we were compliant with that. So now all of our staff are trained crowd managers. And then we were awarded the Industry Partner of the Year from the Entertainment Management Association at Missouri State. Go Bears. In the news and updates, we were featured on KY3 The Place. That was really exciting. We featured the big debate of if you're Team Pumpkin or Team Apple over the fall. I think Team Apple won, but that's just because that's the team I was on. I was also interviewed by Sports ETA to help develop their curriculum for a college-level course under sports venue management. And then 417 Magazine, we switched to going away from traditional ads to more branded content to tell the story of the convention center, tell the story of our staff, and tell the story of the events that we're hosting. And then we also had corporate audits, of operational audit as well as a safety and security audit, and then we got meets and exceeds expectations from both of those audits. And Ashley, who's in the audience, she helped revise our emergency action plan, and they now actually use that at our corporate level as the template for convention centers. So pretty fantastic to know that over 600 venues, they choose Branson, Missouri as their template for emergency response plans. And then we welcomed several new team members: Mason Woodruff, our Director of Operations; Carol Brown, our Sales Manager; Jill Zing, Director of Food and Beverage; Jesse Buchanan, Event Manager; and Janine Bond, Catering Sales Manager. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Any questions on the board?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Marshall?
Angie, I just want to say you're doing a great job. Anybody that you talk to that works with you on a daily basis just has the highest things to say about you. And it's not just that, but it's your ability to deal with, like you said, high-stress things that happen, from personnel things to the flooding to anything that you're faced with. You always meet it head-on, and you're doing great things for the community. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I always just tell myself tomorrow will happen regardless.
Kathy?
So, Mayor and Board, I regularly meet with Angie. We get together once a month, and she keeps me up to speed on all the different challenges and successes that they're having as a team, managing our crown jewel, right, our convention center. I just also want to give special appreciation to Angie because she's always thinking of different ways to earn more revenue. They're creative, like these AI checkout stations. People want convenience. Everything's very fast nowadays. She's younger. Right? I'm just saying.
Thank you.
And so she gets it. And so she gets all the things about social media and new technology, and thank God for that. But Angie, it is just, we laugh most of the way through our meetings because if you're not laughing, you're crying in our businesses. And so I appreciate you for your always looking out for the city and the best interest of the city, how to protect this really precious investment of our taxpayers, which is our convention center. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Glenn?
Nice report, Angie. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, how are our friends with MONASP doing? I know when we met with them last year, they were bursting at the seams. What's the story?
They're still bursting at the seams. They move in on Tuesday, a week from today, and we're trying some new things as far as offering some additional services while they're there, but they are still busting at the seams. They start Monday? Okay, my bad. But they're still busting at the seams. They still have more people that qualify for the state tournament than they can host currently in the convention center. But I would love for them to explore maybe 2 destinations within Branson, or possibly moving to like an outdoor tented area, but they have constraints as well as number of volunteers that would require, number of staff that would require on their end. Their big thing is, instead of, we've also like, can you do a 5-day tournament versus a 4-day tournament? But then that's their team out of the office, having so much of their time taken away from their day-to-day jobs. Putting on this archery tournament is not necessarily their day-to-day job, but a special event for them. So we're trying to continue to throw options out there to keep them in Branson, but after this year, we have 1 more year left on their contract.
Is there, how do you read the tea leaves on that? Is there a chance that they would find a different venue?
I'm trying to make it pretty attractive for them to stay, so they don't want to go to a bigger city. They don't, because of all the things that come along with that. They want to stay in Branson, but they can't continue to tell kids that have qualified for the state tournament that they can't participate.
Because it's a great group. It just
Yeah.
fits Branson so well, to
does.
see all those well-behaved kids running around downtown. And it's always nice to see them in town and all their parents and everything. It would be a real shame if we couldn't keep them.
I agree. So if anybody would like to volunteer, they're still looking for volunteers, and if we can continue to show them that the community is supporting them, even from a volunteer standpoint, that would go a long way with them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I put it up on my website, but are you able to just directly take inquiries for volunteers? Or is there a link on your website somewhere?
They have a link on their website, but if anybody, it might be easier for people to reach out to me, ateal@bransoncc.com. If they're interested in volunteering, I'd be happy to get them in touch with them.
And then just, can you characterize some of the comments at the 86% attendee satisfaction? Were there any things that really stood out in there to you, or any consistency to that?
This one here. Yeah, they love that.
The other one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. That one right there. Overall experience.
Yeah, the cleanliness of the facility, the walkability to entertainment, the visibility of staff. We some of the increased expenses was going to 24/7 security and having 2 officers in the building at all times, where one is constantly roaming and one's in the security office. And surprisingly, we do get comments of saying, I feel safe because I see the security staff there as well. Cleanliness of our bathrooms. I always tell people, you want to know how good of a place you have, you got to look at the cleanliness of the bathrooms. Because if you're not cleaning that, what else are you not cleaning? So we do get comments on that as well. Easy connection to the Wi-Fi, covered parking, all the things that we know are really great about our facility. They're noticing as well.
So what would it take to raise it? Is there anything in the way, any impediments?
I need more concession stand stuff to be able to service more people, because we do only have just the 2 permanent concession stands down inside the exhibit hall, but that's not necessarily always where people are flowing through the event. So we're trying to do our best with setting up some remote concession options, but we're limited as far as like providing hot food in that regard. So we are looking at some they're called gallery carts, but they have like hot well holding in them and like cooking capabilities right there on the cart, versus having to produce everything out of the kitchen, transporting it and keeping it warm or cold. We could have carts that are able to do that. One of the other things is looking at putting in another AI checkout, like coffee shop area in some less used space in the facility to offer more outlets for them to purchase things.
Angie, are you getting any feedback on the new pricing strategy you have for the parking garage?
The pricing hasn't really changed. It's still 15 in the garage and 10 on the lot. The only thing that changes, there is an additional $1.50 fee to be able to use the new pay system. But the only feedback that I'm getting is that we might have had some firefighters that didn't use the promo code provided for them, and they all got bills in the mail. So we're working with Premium Parking to get those voided. But no, we haven't heard any negative feedback on the parking at all.
Okay. Well, the firemen weren't listening when you gave out the promo code. I know.
We gave it to the right person, and then maybe it just stopped there.
It's on them.
But we love them, so we're taking care of them. We'll get it figured out. If that's the biggest headache that I have to deal with over the week, I will be fine.
Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Nope. Angie, I know we've said this for years now. Having you in charge of our convention center, our cherished convention center, is just such a relief for us. As big of an investment as that is, and as much business that goes through that, and for the little I hear about it, right? It's like, it just, you're running it automatic and
I just sit there and go like this, and it just works. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
No, I have a great team, and they're experts in their areas, and I'm blessed to work with them every day, and I learn from them, and they learn from me, and we have a problem, we come together and we solve it, and we just keep it ticking, so we don't have to bother you with it.
Yeah.
If I do, but if there is something that I need to let you know, don't worry, I'll let you know.
I know, but it's rare.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was a presentation not requiring any action, correct? So Angie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation on trails.
We'll get a report from Cindy Shook.
I hate to fall Angie Teal. Mr. Mayor, members of the board, happy to be here tonight to talk about our plans for trails for 2026. So we're excited about that. As the presentation indicates, trails connect us all. And you see our goal there is to connect our community by creating a system of pathways to walk, bike, and be active outdoors. So why do trails matter? That's a great question, right? And so you can see I have several important reasons listed there, such as ecotourism and active lifestyles. But for me, the biggest thing is trails, and the top priority is trails connect people to nature and to each other. And so I read a statistic recently that hiking is the top outdoor activity in the United States with about 58 million people, or 19% of the population. So that's why trails matter. You can see some great pictures that we show why trails, they connect and attract residents and impact quality of life, and that's all the people live in our community. So again, why trails matter. Trails also connect us and connect and attract visitors and businesses. So you can see we have some great pictures of the landing and of downtown Branson. So those were intentional choices made when those facilities were constructed that connect those areas, and they also create a larger visitor experience. I think we all know that when we go there. So I think that's really important to state. And there's also a lot of support for community trails. I don't know if some of you know, on the last 2 community surveys that the top priority was, you can see 10% surveyed said additional trails and connecting trails as their top response. So in response to that, we're doing something about that. You all supported that. We're working on that. So I'm here to talk about that. We're working on 3 separate initiatives for trails in 2026. So the trail connectivity is really a big part of it. That's something we've been wanting to do for a long time. So we're really focused on that. Our trail and landscape supervisor, Laura Perry, Laura wave. So she's right there. And so she's here tonight and going to talk or answer questions, but she's been sending letters out to our community to really gauge their interest in working together, to be partners on connecting trails. Or whether that's recreation use agreements or it's easements, that's something we're really focused on, and connecting trails is a big part of that. We've also got a couple more initiatives, but I wanted to show you really quick. This is a map, and so we're really focused on creating maps all over Branson that show how to connect Branson through trails and connect our community. So this is an example. You can see this map, and in the right-hand corner, where that picks up in the green, that is Stocksville Park. And so our trail actually starts all the way at Sunset. The map cuts off. But this part in the green, you can see our goal is to connect downtown Branson to Henning Conservation Area. So that's a big goal. And we don't have all that property, right? We have the property in the green, but you can see we've got a couple of different routes on the way to do that. And that goes back to what I was saying about Laura reaching out to people in our community and be able to connect. We hope to one day connect this all the way to Lakeside Forest. So again, this is really our main focus this year, is connecting our trails. I mentioned we have 3 initiatives, right? So that's the first one. The second one is we're really focused on an initiative involving providing facilities for bike and skill development. So what does that mean? So we're planning on two separate different parks at Stocksville Park. One is a bike park and one is a bicycle skills course at Stocksville. So the picture on the left, that is a bike park. So a bike park is really geared toward younger kids, where they learn to ride and practice, build confidence. So just kind of a side note, if y'all remember, it was really nice over Christmas, right? Really, really great weather. So I was out walking at the Recplex the day after Christmas. Well, everybody got a bike for Christmas because everybody was out the Recplex riding. So now, I mean, the plan is for those kiddos to have this place to learn to ride their bikes. And then the second part is the next progression. So you see on the right, we have the bicycle skills course. And again, that's a way to progress. So those are wooden ramps, things called skinnies, teeter-totters, and drop-offs to improve ability and develop more advanced skills. So a couple of things that we have going on there in addition to the connectivity. The bike skill development is the second initiative, and then that leads us right into, it sets me up for our future mountain biking trails. So you all have been hearing me talk about this. This is happening. It's happening this year. So you all supported this with funding, and we're very appreciative of that. So you can see the design on the right. Some of you have seen this. So this is the plan for the 8+ miles of biking, mountain biking trails that are going to happen behind the Recplex. So you can see, you see the Recplex where that is. And so we've got 8 miles of design of green, black, and blue trails on the 168 acres. So, so phase one, which we're getting ready to kick off this spring, is going to build about 5.24 miles of green and black trails. So quite a bit of that as part of this year's budget, and then hopefully phase two next year, contingent upon funding, that we'll be able to add to that, right? So we want to finish off the plan and do about 2.9 miles of trails. So you all might remember I was here a couple weeks ago, right? I was asking for permission to put in a grant, with recreational trails grant. So hopefully we'll get that grant, and that will support us even more for this second phase of the bike. So that picture on the left, that's a lot like what the terrain looks like behind the Recplex. It is really geared toward mountain biking. It is really hilly terrain, so we're excited about that. So as you can see, we have some big plans for trails in 2026. I'm calling it the year of the trail. Kathy liked that. I'm here, as I said, to answer some questions. And also Laura Perry, I'd love to get her up here in case you have some questions. She's probably the person to answer those questions, but we're pretty excited, and thank you all for your support, and happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Cindy. Laura, do you want to come up?
I put her on the spot. She doesn't like to speak.
It's okay.
I kind of like staying behind the scenes, but Cindy's going to break me of that pretty soon here. Yeah, I'm Laura Perry, the Trails and Landscape Supervisor. Sometimes Cindy forgets about the landscape part, but Jim doesn't. So trying to balance that. The role was merged back in December, and so just trying to get caught up on what you all have going here. This is a wonderful place to be. I'm relatively new to Branson, and I think this is a really exciting time to join the team and be part of all of this.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Board have any questions? Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Laura, it's so great to see you tonight. I have to apologize that we haven't met yet. I'm sure that you've probably heard my name, but yeah, that's right. But you are my favorite city staff member. Sorry, Kendall. But I just love what you're doing, and I love the position that we were able to create here because I think this is so important, because this whole project is going to take so much vision and so much coordination and truly deserves a full-time staff member. It was being called for so many years. So I'm so thrilled that you're here. And my promise, if we can make it happen in the last 3 or 4 weeks that I'm an alderman, I would love to sit down with you and chat. I just want to bring up one thing really quickly. At the last meeting, so okay, a crucial aspect of connecting Stockstill to Lakeside Forest is getting over Highway 76, right? How do we do that? Well, my thought has always been, up in Springfield, they have overpasses where people can actually walk across, the street. Now, that's going to take some funds, but perhaps partnering with some of the businesses there, the Pepsi Legends Theater or Fritz Adventure, perhaps partnering with the 76 CID. So here's what I have to report that's kind of exciting. Carl Finkenbinder, who's turning that into the Margaritaville, was here last meeting. And when I brought this up to him, he said that he'd heard about it and then he was open to an easement for that. That's a huge aspect of getting people from Stockstill up the Fall Creek extension through the sidewalk and then across to Lakeside Forest. And then, of course, through Lakeside Forest, you get to Sunset Park and it's amazing. And then to Cindy's point, once we get to Ruth and Paul Henning, we can get to the new Shepherd of the Hills State Park, which, you're talking about creating like a mini Appalachian Trail for the Ozarks. And so I just love the concept. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm so excited that Cindy has saw this through, that Kathy saw fit to help us with this initiative, the mayor, the rest of the board here. I just couldn't be more thrilled because this is a huge aspect to quality of life in Branson. And so thank you.
And Marshall, Marshall, I want to thank you for being the driver of this also. Anybody else?
I just want to say, Laura, you have beautified our city. It looks so nice, all the work that you've put in. And working with Cindy, I can't imagine what we're going to have moving forward. I go back with Cindy when she has just been relentless on working on all these trails, and Don Stevens used to call me and say, we're going for a hike, because he always loved to hike. So I was very grateful for all the trails, and especially Lakeside Wilderness. I haven't been on those steps in a while, but it's just all so beautiful. And thank you for working so diligently with every plan development that comes through to see if there might be a possibility of connecting trail or getting some beautiful green space or parks or whatever. So thank you both so much for everything you're putting into this.
Glenn?
Yeah, thank you both. Great presentation. Can you go back to the last slide with the bike park?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that upper red section, what phase is that in?
That's in phase 2, and that's more of the difficult, so that's why there's some additional cost related to that. But yeah, that's phase 2.
Okay, because that's also an area, and I don't know if you're looped in on this, there's some erosion on that hill up there that the city had looked at trying to tackle to some degree.
We are, so the map is cut off, Glenn. It doesn't go up behind the development. It starts lower than that. So I'd be happy to get you that. That's something we're very conscientious about. And so it's been really thought out. And, we want to be good neighbors and we want to fit in well with the community. And so we avoided that area.
Okay, all right. And then can you go to the connecting map?
Absolutely.
So as a regular trail user, I'm curious about what gets done when. You're working on it, but do you have some specific timelines for any part of this?
So as I mentioned, our initiative right now is Laura has sent out letters in the community kind of talking about our excitement for trails. The ability to partner, our vision for trails. And, what we hope to get is recreational use agreements or easements from people, right? And so what you're seeing is just kind of some concepts of different routes. We hope to connect to the TIF property that Kathy was talking about earlier. We've got the waterfall trail at Westgate. We need to get to Westgate. And what's happening is the creek. And so there's different ways. We've talked about it. Laura has hiked all of it, looked at multiple ways. Sidewalks are going to be a big part of this. It's not just trails and walking paths. So there's multiple ways to get someplace. So I'm not sure. As far as the timeline goes, we're very focused on it, but we're also moving at the speed that the community wants to move at.
If you would get rapid acceptance by property owners in the way that you want it, are we funded to move forward at that point, or is it another funding round that you need?
Both. Luckily we were underbid in our trail project, and so we've also got our community asset replacement. So I'm kind of hanging on to a little bit of those dollars. I mean, as I just met with you all recently about, a project that didn't work out, but I mean, there could be some needs to budget some funds moving forward. I mean, because now we have this dedicated position, as Marshall said, thanks to the board and especially Kathy who pushed for this. So we're just getting started on this. And so we may need to start looking at budgeting some dollars as we start to get into this. There's a piece of property, not here, but let's see if I can move. You see it right there behind the Recplex. I mean, that's not our property right there. And so, boy, we would love to have that piece of property, and we've reached out to them. And so, yeah, you got it, Marshall, right there? Yes. And so that's something that we may have to put some dollars away for. So we're just kind of figuring this out and breaking ground, but we do have some money that we can absorb in this year's budget. Not a ton.
Yeah, I'd encourage you. I mean, this is a conversation, just like you said from the community survey, this is a conversation throughout the community. I'm always asked about this when I'm out talking with people about what we're doing with trails. It's just a constant discussion. So my recommendation, subject to convincing Kathy, would be that you not be bashful if you see the opportunity to move forward on some of this, to come back to the Board of Aldermen for the funding that you would need to do it at pace. Because I think it is pent-up demand in the community for this kind of thing. The other thing I wanted to ask you about with the trails, that seems to be the trend in a lot of trails nowadays, is they're not just exercise and just walking through nature per se, that there's a lot of destinations on trails, right? Where you might walk 5 miles and then there's a purpose-built coffee shop, or there's a purpose-built water filling station. I even saw one that was heavy bike traffic. They had a little bike repair shop, a little kiosk, with all the stuff that a biker might need to keep their bike going on the trail. And the other thing I noticed too is the trend now seems to be on the newer trails is that they're well marked for emergency and location purposes, so that there's way markers so that if you fall or you're having heart problems or something, your call to the police can reference that marker and they know right where you are on the trail, especially these long trails that just tend, otherwise you'd lose all reference to where to send the ambulance or rescue crew to. Is there any thought on any of this with our trails, or am I getting ahead of you?
We have been thinking about the emergency services aspect of this, and there's an important component with the mountain biking trail system that how do we get in there in a reasonable amount of time. So what we're doing at Lakeside right now is improving the markers. I've been working with one of our GIS people just to find out what all we can actually connect to the QR codes that we do have out there. So we've got some signs ready to continue that effort, just to get more signs out in places, and that's definitely a potential aspect, is a link to emergency services that we can look at. But the mountain bike trail, I think a lot of what's going to happen there will help us develop more of the trail systems and the signage out there and the emergency response. It might be a little backwards, but whatever we learn from the mountain biking construction, we can then kind of retroactively apply to some of the other trails.
Well, that's great. I just encourage you to keep it up. I know the community will be excited when they can see some progress on the hiking, biking trail front.
Any other aldermen? Ralph?
When this property was first gifted to the city, that was the first idea, was the bikes trail. And, the necessary things that are going to have to fall in place are going to happen simply because of the vision that you have, Cindy, because as soon as we got this property, your brain went right to work on it. And this board was definitely behind that because we knew where it would enhance the quality of life of the community. And this is a great, great plan. And, some people think, well, not soon enough, but boy, this has really moved fast. I mean, this is just in the last 3 years that this is really, from the time we got this property to where we are right now has really moved fast, particularly when it's a municipal government. So thank you so much for the vision, your team's vision behind you, because those are the things that are necessary to make these things happen. And when the community gets behind things like this, it's because of the clarity of the vision, and you communicate that so well. So thank you so much for your stewardship in that, and thank you so much for the longevity and the time that you've put in this community, because you are a deep, deep asset in this community, and we thank you so much for everything you do, because you're creative, you think outside the box, you're fiscally responsible. Holy moly, you are fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
Thank you for that so much.
Thank you all for saying that. I would just like to give credit back to you. I mean, the support that we've received in the Parks Department, probably the last 3 years on this community asset replacement plan, I mean, that's not something I've seen a lot, especially giving back to the neighborhood parks. I love that. I talked to the mayor about the other day. And so it's really happening because you guys have, it was a top priority and you're funding it. So, it's our job to make that happen, and we're trying to make that happen as quickly as possible. I was just in Columbia last week. I looked at their trails. Obviously we want people from Northwest Arkansas. We want them to come up here, right? And so when they're leaving, I think there are opportunities for the ecotourism and even business, like you mentioned, Alderman. But I mean, I do think that, as Kathy likes to say, we're just getting started, and I think there's some really cool things going to happen.
Any other comments, questions? Marshall?
Hey, really quickly, to Glenn's point about kind of involving the community, there are certain trusts that are involved in this. You and I have talked about it, and we don't need to say it necessarily out, but I think there are people that we could reach out to that maybe are connected to those families, or people that have connections to Treasure Lake, which we're probably going to need if we want to get from the waterfall up to Henning, So maybe some community initiatives where we reach out to people and ask them to act as people who speak on our behalf as well, and can kind of connect with these families or these businesses and let them know what we're trying to accomplish, that it won't be onerous on them. And that could be a really strong strategy, I feel like, moving forward.
Sure. I definitely think we definitely hope to get back to the connection from Lakeside Forest to Sunset. That's a really important connection. That's part of this. It's a big piece. And so I think, to your point, just there's a lot of support for this and making sure we're leveraging that and talking to the right people about that.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak?
Any introductions you want to make, go ahead, Marshall. I said, any introductions you want to make, go ahead.
I'm going to call you.
Okay, good.
All right.
Hi, Beth Schultz. As somebody already stole my thunder on this end of the dais, there were a few things I was going to mention that he already did. But as a major hiker throughout this country and other countries, and I just met Laura Park recently, we found little ways that we could remember each other's names. My question is, maybe this is too far to the future, but so many of the trails that we hike are considered rugged trails and they are multi-purpose. I'm just wondering if some of your bike trails are simply for the bikes or if they are also for hikers.
Yeah, they're definitely multi-purpose. As I mentioned, if you've been behind the Recplex, the terrain lends itself to biking because it is really, really hilly. It doesn't mean someone can't walk on it. I think that's just a natural place to go to for what the terrain is. But yeah, we want to, I've read articles. Laura's worked at Denver, Colorado, and I've read articles about how you can designate different days. If there's really is a demand for that much, we'll have to see. So we don't want to exclude anybody for sure.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Hearing none. Cindy, Laura, thank you. It's Laura? Laura. Thank you very much, and you continue to have the board support.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet.
Your Honor, the next item is a presentation on the 2025 year-end City of Branson financials.
We'll get a staff report from Allison, and this won't take long.
I promise I'll try to slow down, as long as I don't get too nervous. So we're going to start off with general fund revenues and expenditures for 2025. We brought in $27,755,290 in revenue in the general fund and expended $29,181,288. The total general fund revenues, including transfers, were $1,728,000 greater than 2024, with taxes and franchise fees increasing by 3% over 2024. When we look at the general fund revenue and expenditures compared to the budget, we exceeded our budgeted revenues by 3%, and we expended 95% of budgeted expenditures. Moving on to the tourism fund. Our revenues for our tourism fund were 11.5% greater than 2024, with our total revenue being $21,358,207, and our expenditures were $19,607,242. And then here we can see our tourism revenues against our budgeted revenues and our expenses against our budgeted expenditures. We brought in 15% more in revenue than we budgeted for, and we expended 97% of our budgeted expenditures out of our tourism fund in 2025. In our transportation fund, we brought in $9,732,999 in revenue and expended $8,504,797. Our year-to-date revenue is 14% greater than 2024, and our 2025 expenditures and transfers out decreased by 10%. Here again, we have our transportation fund against what we budgeted. We brought in 5% more in revenue than what was budgeted, and we expended 83% of budgeted expenditures. For our public safety fund, we brought in $17,765,038 in revenue and expended $26,680,094. That's mainly due to our police project that came out of this fund, so that's why you see the increase in expenditures for 2025. And revenues, excluding our bond revenue, was up 9% over 2024. Moving on to our water and sewer fund, our charges for services increased 9% over 2024, with a total revenue of $14,352,187 and expenditures of $11,048,901. We compare that to budgeted revenue and expenditures, and we see that we brought in 24% more than what we budgeted in revenue, and we expended 42% of our budgeted, or we expended 58% of our budgeted expenditures out of our water and sewer fund for 2025. For Parks and Rec, we brought in $4,064,520 in revenue, and we expended $3,843,844 in expenditures. Our revenue, excluding grants, increased 6.7% over 2024. And here you can see our budgeted revenues compared to where we came in at for 2025, as well as the expenditures, and we came in at 91% of budgeted revenues. This is mainly due to our campground being down from what we budgeted. We were aggressive with our campground budget due to the renovations, and we came in right under that. So Cindy was still profitable on her campground for 2025, just came in a little short of what we had budgeted in that fund, and we'll see in our tourism tax reports that all of campgrounds were actually down in 2025. And then she expended $3,843,844, which is 87%. And like you guys have already said, she is very conservative, and so if she doesn't make the revenue, she doesn't expense it. So she watches her budget super closely, so she makes sure she's right there with her budgeted revenues. And then here's the fun part. Here's our tourism tax by class, with amusement tourism tax increasing 9% over 2024. Our theater collections were up 22% over 2024. Hotels and motels were up 3%. Campgrounds were down 6%. Our short-term rentals had increased 13% over 2024, and our restaurants and concessions had increased 7%. And then these charts that you can see here for each class, they're actually pushed back to when the businesses collected the tax. So you can see where we were busy part of the year. And we didn't put it in this, but I'll bring it to our next meeting that we have, is we have a report that shows our traffic counts against these numbers. And that's really interesting to say, okay, are we actually busy, or is our traffic counts correlate with this? And most of the time it does, but that is not in this report today. Do we have any questions about tourism tax or the slides I've went over so far? Yes, sir.
Just an observation, because I spent a lot of time looking at the tourism tax in particular for a community discussion that I'm leading, but the hotel motels, I looked at the STAR report, which is the report that franchised hotels use to analyze themselves compared to others, because this is one of, the marginally performing groups out of all of the components in our tourism fund, in our tourism tax. The STAR report showed that occupancy only increased by about 0.2% in that year. Now, while the RevPAR was up substantially, and so to me that would indicate that most of that movement came not from occupancy but from rate changes. So they probably just held basically equal for the year, would be the perspective. It wasn't a tremendous gain in there at all. Now, the only caveat to that STAR report is that it's just for franchised hotels, and it does cover a footprint a little broader than Branson itself. So it may lack a little fidelity, but I think it's a good proxy for the state of the hotel motel chart that we're looking at there.
Yeah. And we see 3% increase over 2024, and that's what we budget for. We budget conservatively for around 2 and 3%, so that's actually low, where you can see everything else increase drastically over 2024. So hotels and motels stayed consistently because we do budget for inflation in there, so we expect our revenues to go up 3%. So that met our expectations at the 3% budget for hotels and motels. I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is our sales tax. So our unrestricted sales tax of 1% increased 4% over 2024, and then our public safety tax and transportation tax increased 3% over 2024. Do we have any questions?
Any questions on the board?
Mayor?
Glenn?
Could you comment on, do you know offhand what our revenue is from the property tax levy?
I don't know offhand our ad valorem tax, and I can get that to you and I can post it. We do have a website right now called Open Finance where you can go in and click into all of our sales tax revenue and our property tax revenue, and you can see everything. But I don't have that number off the top of my head, Glenn, and I don't have it broken out on my financial reports because all of our taxes are rolled up.
Can we also find like the marijuana tax in there and some of those things, cigarette tax, that's all broken out?
Yeah. And our marijuana tax is actually in separate funds. So that goes to our public safety department. So we split that out in Fund 562 and 563. And that's split to go towards public safety, and that's expended towards their cost.
Yeah, I realize that. It's kind of hard to dig out of some of the individual reports, you know, and because other things are commingled in some of those categories. So that's what I was curious about. Couple other questions for you. Looking at the water sewer situation. So we spent 3 meetings, you know, working on new rates for water sewer. And it strikes me now when I look at the results for the year that we've already exceeded, in 2025, we exceeded the need that was projected for 2026 before the rate increase.
So this is accrued revenue for our water and sewer. Last report, we did do accrued and cash balance, but since our audit is not finished, we have not got the cash balance finalized to give you the cash balance. So this is our accrued balance. And then we also have more water usage and new meters that are being replaced that are accounting for our water more accurately.
Yeah, I heard the new meters when you presented this to the finance committee, and that's what got me thinking. What's your analysis? Are we going to be at the place where we actually will overshoot the revenue projection based on what you're seeing? I see the expert
So there's other
hovering
fees,
here.
and there's other fees also included in this. So when it gets to water and sewer utility revenue, it's not just rates that fund this. There are other things that we roll up into this report to say this is our gross revenue number. And so although we did do good on our rates this year, that's not going to account for everything. We're still going to need rate increases, but yes, as we have those replacements, we'll be able to track things better. And then late fees and everything else also go against this revenue stream. Not that we're charging a lot more late fees or anything, but just to give you a perspective of there's more than just charges, rate-based charges for services that are going into this. Water usage goes into it, and then our different types of properties, and then our sizes of meters and everything. So Kendall does do a really good analysis on those every month and every year to say this is what we need to in rates to fund capital and long-term capital. So when Kendall looks at capital, he's not looking at this year and next year. He's looking at 10 to 15 years down the road to say, these are the rates I need for 10 years from now.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just talking about when we approved the rate increase for 1 year, you know, and we also looked at the capital expenditures for that 1 year for 2026. It appears to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that we're going, if the end of the year is any indication, that we're going to be well beyond our projected increase with that 10% and 9% rate change. Am I wrong?
No, I think you got a good assumption there for sure. And in what it's projecting out, I think the biggest cause of that would be in 2025, we started manually reading meters that were being estimated. We had a mass group of those, so we're getting more accurate. We had more accurate readings in 2025, which equated to more revenues outlook or output anyway by the end of the year. So what we'll do this year is, again, we take those 2025 revenues, actuals, and we incorporate those into the model and reassess where we're at, right? And so when we come back to you, we'll come back with those updated revenue amounts in that model to make it more accurate as well, and then we'll know where we're at with rate increases at that point for next year, what's projected, so.
Can you talk, since you got the mic, can you talk a little bit about the expense side of things in 2025? Because it looked like we were fairly underspent. Did we not execute on projects, or?
Not necessarily not execute, but projects are still underway. So those projects have been processed, have been out to bid and awarded, and pumps and components are sent off for rebuild and refurbishment, and it takes a long time to get those processed. There's a backlog of lift station pumps that we're still working on, so that's the carryover that you're seeing in that. But overall, we'll expend those dollars once we get those projects wrapped up in early this year.
So does that mean your expenses for 2026 will be higher than what you projected?
No, it's carried over from 2025, so it stays in 2025 expense logs.
Yeah, in the fund, but in terms of the absolute expense accounts, they will exceed?
It goes to an encumbrance account when we roll year end during the audit. It's an encumbrance against the 2025 budget. So at that point, that will be accounted for against the 2025 budget and then actually expensed in 2026.
Yeah, thanks. Then I've got a question on, moving on here. Let's talk a little bit about the effect of the tourism tax. So when I look at that account, not the necessarily income side, but the overall account, you know, we've got a fairly hefty fund balance in there now, right? We've got, what is it? 45, 47, $50 million in there, something like that?
Yeah, our fund balance as of today is like around 43 million.
So how do we, when I look at that report, do you have another report that says of that 43 million, this amount is allocated towards tourism and this amount is allocated towards capital projects?
So we do, because we roll projects every year that go against that. So that's what you see because that's unspent. But some of that is going towards projects, but they're not bid out yet. So we don't have it rolled up quite yet because when we bring you those 2026 budget amendments, you'll see it at that point. You'll say, here's our 2026 budget and here are what we're rolling forward in projects from the last 2 years to offset that fund balance right there. So we're working on that and we will have it with our 2026 budget amendments.
Yeah, will that also happen though with the marketing side of things? Because it looked to me like we were fairly underspent on the 25% that we could have spent based on the tourism tax that we received. So is that also tracked somewhere in terms of where is the excess funds and how much is it?
We don't reallocate those towards marketing dollars. We can, and we are tracking those because every year we have the marketing dollars broken down, but we allocate to capital first and then we roll to fund balance. This is, I think, the first year that we've actually had marketing dollars left over because we usually actually give extra funds for contingency and everything in there. And they've submitted a few other expenditures because they do a really good job of expending everything that's been allocated to them. So usually we do not have excess marketing dollars within the tourism fund.
But we do have a way of tracking it.
We do have a way of tracking it because we just take out the capital and say this is our remaining balance, but everything's rolled up into a big pot at the end of the year and then we take capital first and then say these are our remaining marketing dollars.
Yeah, I just want to be sure we're compliant with the state law as to how we have to manage that because it does require, besides the fund itself, it requires two accounts, one account that shows what's left in marketing and one account that shows what's left in capital expenditures.
Yeah, and we track all of that, and we track all of their marketing expenses to the detail to say this is what we have left over. And then, yes, that is rolling to fund balance, but yes, we are tracking all of that.
Could I get a copy of that report?
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that. Then the last question I had was just about budgets in general. So, you know, when I joined the Board of Aldermen, I looked at what our responsibility is for budgeting processes. So I looked at the state statutes for that. And I want to get your understanding of that because it said that in the budgeting process that the city, once the budget is established, that without additional authorization, the city cannot exceed the expenditure categories.
Yeah, so we can't exceed the expenditure and transfer out category when it comes to budgeted.
But that's my question, I guess, is what you just said. It says expenditure specifically in the.
Transfers out are considered an expenditure.
And that's the way you're treating it, as transfers?
I mean, they're considered an expenditure in accounting. So,
Okay.
yes, so our expenditures plus our transfers out are our expenditure lines, and that's what we're audited on. We cannot exceed what we budgeted in our transfers out and expenditure lines for that budget year. And we have to bring you budget amendments for those. So you might see a few for like our debt service funds, and every year, once we finalize those we get the accounts, or we get the statements from the bank, we finalize all of those, and then we do a budget amendment on those funds.
And when you get budget changes authorized from us, do you go back then and adjust the budget column to reflect that? Or is that budget column locked based on what was decided at the end of the prior year?
So the budget column is locked, and then we do a revised budget column is how. So we have the original budget, and then we have a revised budget for everything that has changed from the budget adoption date.
Okay, so the reports that I'm looking at don't have that revised budget column on
Yep,
it.
so we do have them in our Tyler system, and then in Open Finance, they're also there.
They're on the new web app?
Yep.
Great, okay, thank you.
Any other aldermen have any questions? Marshall?
How's she so smart? Blowing my mind right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I'm in rather a reflective mood, with just 2 meetings left. And I have to say that leaving this dais, having had a year where we were up 22% in theaters, means a lot to me,
Means a lot to me too,
yeah,
Marshall.
absolutely.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Right here, bro. I've basically committed, like Clay has, sort of my adult life's work to ensuring the health of that industry, and so I want to say that not only speaks to the health of the overall market, but it speaks to the desire for our visitors to still want to go to our music shows.
Right.
The value of what they are, and I think it speaks to what this board has done as far as our advocacy for the music shows. And we're certainly not done. I just had a meeting with the influencer, Satira Loves Branson, and she has a lot of ideas about how we can kind of get all together as a show community and help with some of those social media marketing initiatives. We've already done some of that with the TCD and the co-op initiative that Tim Haygood has led. I appreciate his leadership. I appreciate Clay's leadership. I encourage the new Ward 1 Alderman, Alex, down there, as he represents the ward, to just continue to support the shows, as I know you care about the industry, and just this entire board as we go forward into the future. Just never forsake who got us to the dance. And it just feels darn good to be up 22% as I leave this dais. So thank y'all.
Thanks, Marshall. Any other aldermen? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none, then we're not voting to approve this. No. Allison, I feel very comfortable with the numbers, other than the speed, the numbers that you've presented, and the high quality of knowing that your level of expertise. I sleep very, very well at night. And your presentation of the finances is very comfortable for me. And I appreciate you. If I had any detailed questions or want to dig into it, first I'll go to our new website, which is just amazing. And if I can't get them answered there, I'll just look you up.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Apologies. Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6654, an ordinance approving the amendment with Tyler Technologies Incorporated for ERP and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6654. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
A motion is second. We'll get a staff report from Allison.
So this is our Tyler contract. We are removing services for unused services that we removed from our original Tyler contract, and we're also removing hours to save us dollars. So we only have one module left to implement, which is utility billing, and we are working on that now. So we want to get rid of all of those unused hours and unused modules so we can tell this is the only thing we have left and only use those hours. Are there any other questions about the Tyler contract?
Any members of the board have questions?
Yeah, just one question. In reference to the utility billing, what's the lead time on that going live? I know you guys are working on it, but
So our estimated go live is August. We might have some delays just with historical data and legacy data and getting everything there, but right now, it's supposed to be the middle of August to go live with that, just before year end for 2026.
and that gives everyone real live access to their current bill, pay online, set up auto payment, all those things, right?
Yeah, it's a more user-friendly interface, kind of like our Citizen Serve, and we're just going that direction with Tyler now, so you can see your bill, you can pay online, and everything's integrated, and you can see real-time data of your utility bill.
Thank you.
Any other members of the board? Anybody in the audience have any questions?
Mayor, does the city attorney get a chance to comment on this?
No.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Go ahead,
I
Saul.
assumed that was a joke.
Yes.
You know, I was litigating a case a few years ago, and I had to deal with the Oklahoma court system. And in Oklahoma, you still have to mail your lawsuit to the clerk of the court, and then they stamp it with a printed stamp, and then they mail it back to you, and then you go serve your documents. And so I just want to say, like, with this process, I really appreciate that some of our staff, including Allison and Chad, who worked on this as well, have made this an online digital thing easy for the people, because there are still government agencies working in the paper realm.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's see. We need to vote to approve this presentation. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Why don't we take a short break, and then we'll come back. Call this meeting back to order. Hill?
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill Number 6655, an ordinance approving the non-exclusive trademark license and ownership transfer agreement with Branson Lakes Area Tourism Community Enhancement District and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents related thereto.
You've heard the first reading of Bill 6655. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second. Get a staff report from Solon.
I'm just finding out about this. Hillary just told me. I'm just kidding. So actually, I want to thank the TCED for working with the city on this. This is a great thing for the city of Branson. I don't know how long. It's been months probably in the works to acquire the logo, the trademark for the 250th logo. So if you approve this tonight, the city of Branson will own that. The TCED and I negotiated and discussed this and decided that it was probably in the best interest of the city to maintain that, as we have, generally more staff to keep an eye on those things. Some of you may know that a different trademark a few years ago, before my time, kind of lapsed, and that's just not something we want to take risks with. And so we have several staff members that are watching over that, and we also have an outside firm that specifically deals in these types of things that's also watching over that. Like most organizations have them do that. So really grateful for that. The agreement itself allows the TCED to use it as a license, so we kind of just switched roles. It was the other way around, and so now we own it and we're licensing it to them. They can use it freely how they want, according to the agreement that we have. And the city of Branson can use it how we want. And so it's a great thing. We're excited. It's something that we wanted to get done in preparation for this year, for the 250th celebration. So there's all, timing things and all that kind of stuff. So we're finally here, and I recommend that you approve that.
Solon, which logo is it?
It's the colored version of this that has the stars and the bee. So it's the I don't remember which colors were red and which colors were blue, but there you go. Well, that's kind of it. It's just that logo over there. Not this stuff on the left.
Okay.
So the city of Branson will now own that. And any day now, the United States Patent and Trade Office should be issuing that trademark to the city of Branson.
Very nice. Any board members have any questions, comments? Glenn?
Yeah, thanks, Solon. I looked, as you might suspect, through the entire contract, and I thought the body of the contract was great. I liked how it takes it from when they own it, here's the rules of engagement, and once we own it, flip all those rules around, well spelled out, loved it. The part I was really disappointed in, though, to be honest, is there's 3 exhibits, right? Exhibit 1 is the USPTO essentially application for the black and white logo, which is all you can register as a black and white logo. The second one is the style guide for that logo, and the third one is some examples from the city using that logo in departments, right?
That's right.
The problem I have is related to the style guide. The document, the contract itself says we've agreed this is how the logo will be used according to this style guide, right?
That's correct.
The style guide has nothing to do with the logo. When
I
you
don't
look,
understand your question.
it's not a question, it was a statement. The style guide that's in Exhibit B is for a totally different logo that neither party owns, and it does not describe how you colorize the 250th version, how you apply it in literature, what you can do with background colors. It doesn't do any of that. That's a style guide for a totally different logo. And if you look at, just by the way of example, if you look
Glenn,
at the...
I can probably answer your frustration before you carry it on. I wish you would have come to ask me this question instead of doing
You might
this
recall that I did ask it in the closed session, and I was told, don't worry, there's a style guide.
Yes.
I get 2 days to review it.
You're right, you did, but you didn't say, hey, I looked at it and I still disagree with you. And the answer is, if you look in the text I acknowledge that it's this logo, and I textually outline how that will work. So it's taken care of from that respect in a written word when it says, this logo is not the logo. The logo that you will reference is the 250th one below, and it will be used in the same backgrounds as the other one will be.
But it can't be.
According to the style guide.
That's the problem of the style guide. When you really look at, I mean, I've done style guides for decades, right? When you really look at the style guide, you cannot take the new logo and say that's how it's used. The colors are wrong, the backgrounds are wrong, everything about it is wrong. It will not be the style guide. It's a complete miss on the style guide. And that's what I have the heartburn over.
Well, if you want to talk to me about some of those concerns, more than happy to look at amending it. I don't think the other party is going to have issue with that. We're all on good terms and, more than happy to amend it. That, I don't agree with you necessarily. I can see why you would say that because there's black font versus blue and maybe it would clash in some backdrops. But otherwise, the text that I'm referring to talks about the fact that these are different logos and that there's stars in the other one and this color is that. And so I'm more than happy to look at any amendments you think that we ought to do to the style guide.
My recommendation is that we have a new style guide. You're not even going to amend that one.
And that's
because
fine.
We can
look into that.
It's so far in left field compared to the logo that we're licensing or that we're getting ownership of, that it's useless.
I disagree with that, but I'm more than happy to look at amendments to that. And if the city wants to spend, so I'll tell you, the efforts there were made because I didn't want to waste money on a very expensive intellectual property attorney for something I thought we accomplished.
The style guide isn't, okay, that shows your answer there, if I may be so bold, shows you don't understand the origin and use of the style guide. It's got nothing to do with the patent office, with the patent attorneys. This is,
Can
I finish my sentence?
Well, you interrupted me in the middle of mine, and I didn't get to finish explaining to you.
You know what? Why don't you two take this to maybe a different room? Let us move on with this. I know there's conflicting opinions. And any other alderman wishing to speak to this?
Mayor, would it be realistic to table this until the next meeting?
Our attorney's telling us this is fine.
Well, we have differing opinions, though. So if I'm understanding what Solon's saying, well, let's just go ahead and vote it through, and then we can come back and amend it later.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that I put words in there that I feel like accommodate for the alteration and the substitution of the 250th logo into the style guide that was created for the Branson logo that you see above. The only differences between the two logos are stars in the B and two colors. Because of that, there may be some clash in a blue background, and if that's of that import and concern between two parties that know how to use this and look at something that's, clashing a little bit because of a blue tone, that's fine. I'm okay with that. If Glenn wants me to change that, I will look into that. We will spend the funds on an intellectual property attorney and firm to change that, and that is how you do it. It's 100% how you do it.
Are all parties in agreement with what we have now?
Yes, the parties are in agreement.
So then what's the...
And I will tell you, I'm not the only attorney that's reviewed this. The TCED attorney reviewed it and approved it.
I would say that's the problem. Because literally, people that have worked with style guides, this is not an attorney issue. It's not. It's graphic artists. It's people that understand how to protect brands. It's got nothing to do with attorneys, and it's got nothing to do with the patent office. Zero. All it has to do with is getting a style guide assembled by the creative people that match the logo we're talking about, and including that in the contract. I see no basis to have a contract that says this is the style guide that isn't even remotely applicable to the logo that's being discussed.
Okay,
So
Glenn.
what I will just say finally is that I would have been more than happy, Glenn, to discuss that with you, pull the item from the agenda if you thought it was that big of a deal, and get a style guide done. I'm disappointed that you didn't ask me that ahead of time when you thought that there was still not sufficient style guide there. You know, that's fine. I will look into that for you if you want. I don't care. You can pull this from the agenda tonight. It's not a big deal. It's not a rush. I think that we should still proceed forward. I don't see a problem with it. Both attorneys have reviewed it. I disagree with the representation that the style guide is not done by attorneys. They are the ones that litigate whether or not someone is violating the use, not marketers.
Okay, so based on that, Glenn, thanks for sharing. Any other board member wanting to share on this? Anybody in the audience? Up.
I was just going to ask Glenn, what is the danger in not doing what you're recommending? Or what is the consequences, I guess, is the question.
The consequences is we don't have any agreement on how the logos will look or be applied to backgrounds and other products. So even the colors are, so the blue and the red of the new logo I'm talking about, those are the primary new colors. We don't even have what the artist would call a PMS description for those colors.
That's hyperbole. You do too. You have a description in there. I've got pages of style guides in there, Glenn.
But it's the wrong colors. I don't know why this is so hard to.
That's an opinion,
Time
Glenn.
out. Hey, time out. We understand your opinion, Glenn. I'm choosing to follow our legal opinions and take this to a vote.
Mr. Mayor, this is really kind of silly, so I'll just move that we postpone this to the next meeting to give the attorney and I time to discuss this and try to come to an agreement.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I'd ask, does the attorney see that as acceptable?
Well, I see this as, and I hope this isn't connected, Glenn, and I wouldn't assume this, but we have a problem if this is postponed, and that is this is going to interfere with our flag, which is something else that you objected to on this agenda tonight. And so we do want to make sure this is in place before we do anything with the flag, because we technically don't have ownership rights until this is signed. So that's a problem for me. But I think maybe we could also just pull the style guide up and look at it and see what you guys think about it. Is there going to be clashes with this logo as it's replaced in this thing? And you can see.
I don't know if that'd be appropriate for us to do tonight.
It's part of the contract, so it's up to you, whatever.
Mr. Mayor, I have to object to the insinuation that there's connected issues here. Again,
I'm not insinuating that. I said that
you stated it. So.
I said that if you want to postpone it, I would not recommend the flag.
Said you hope this isn't connected to the flag issue.
That's
and
right.
That was an insinuation. There's no connection. I have no problem with the flag bill as it stands. I want to be really clear on that. When it's ready, I'd vote for it.
So
it's not that issue.
Mayor, if you'll Chad, will you pull up Exhibit C to this contract and so that the people can see what we're talking about? Because I think we're saying a lot of words.
It's Exhibit B.
I'm talking about Exhibit C.
If you could, just give us 1 minute to pull that up.
And Glenn, I don't mean any disrespect. I just, sometimes we have difficult conversations. We have to.
While we're waiting, the other thing I'd like to just address is the comment that I should have come to the attorney beforehand. I had this conversation with staff, Kathy could nod her head about this, that when you have 2 business days to review an agenda of how many items and how many probably 100 pages of things, the realism of getting to staff on all these issues and answering questions and asking questions and making suggestions is near zero. We have 2 business days to do this all in.
But
So
Glenn, I could have pulled this in 5 seconds.
Please? I'm asking that in the future, we consider, please, that from an agenda perspective, when things aren't an emergency item, that it would be so practical if we could just send these things out 2 weeks in advance to the aldermen and say, this will be coming up on the next agenda. Please get us your comments, suggestions, critiques, questions before it shows
Okay.
up on the agenda.
Let's move on, Glenn.
So Exhibit B, Chad, can you scroll down? This is C. Keep going to the very, or sorry, C is what I was looking for. So you can see Exhibit C has the Branson B with the blue backgrounds. So this is how the city of Branson would utilize them, and it would be anticipated that if they're using them with backgrounds, that it would, be of similar fashion. And if you scroll up to Exhibit B, what Glenn is talking about, you can see, go back down to that one below. So you've got textual fonts that are required in there. And these are the ones that we use for the other logo, that the only difference is black and red and blue. So keep scrolling up, Chad. You can see that there's guidelines on please don't. So you've got like, hey, it says don't use low contrast brand colors and it's hard to read with this small font, but tints to display the logo. So that's going to apply across the board. It doesn't matter if it's on this display guide, the B that's blue. If you can see here, it's actually in blue. The trademark for the Branson logo is a black trademark, but yet they're displaying it on the style guide in blue font. That doesn't change whether or not the style guide is good. So if you scroll up, you can see again, there's other examples of how you would use black and white versus the coloring. Now, I will tell you that the trademark that's been applied for is a black and white trademark, just like the one that is in the style guide. So it doesn't matter. If you go on the U.S. Patent Trademark Office website, you will see it's black and white. It's not red and blue. And then if you scroll up even further, so it's literally the exact same color scheme. The only thing different is actually that the stars are there. And I probably should have said that earlier. Maybe that would have cleared up your question, Glenn. I apologize.
No, it wouldn't. See, just by example, when you got this page up,
sure,
putting the red, white, and blue logo on that orange background, and somebody that is thinking about style guides would probably say, we don't want to do that, right? And you also see other colors of the logo. And in the new logo's case, we specifically want to say, no, there are no other colors of this logo other than the blue-white colors of these PMS, and then also allow it in black. That's what a style guide's supposed to do, is the do's and don'ts for that particular logo. This doesn't address that. That's my point.
Well, if you read the words there, it says, secondary or accent colors may be used in conjunction with brand colors. Below are various ways to mix secondary and primary colors,
and
not the secondary.
But the new logo,
Is
see
what?
the old logo,
What
the
color
one,
is the new logo?
I'm sorry?
What color is the new logo?
I don't know.
It's black and white.
No, well, I get that. I understand the USPTO issue, but clearly we're displaying it being used in red, white, and blue, right?
This is just examples of, hey, don't mix colors the wrong way.
We are going to use the new logo in red, white, and blue, right?
We have the option to do that, yes.
Yeah, and I think that is probably one of the primary uses because it's supposed to be for the 250th,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
So my point is, when you look at a graphic like this, you'd probably eliminate a number of these allowable backgrounds and contrasts with those particular colors because they would make no sense at all.
And Glenn, I know why this is concerning to you because you are very technical and you like things to be very precise. But what I will tell you is, I think most people would agree that the TCD is not, or the TCD is not going to do green and red, but they could for Christmas. They could. And that's the whole point.
Not.
And that's the whole point of this, is that it's allowing you the flexibility to use different colors off of the white and black logo as long as they have a proper mix of contrast. And that's what this right here talks about.
Well, I'm shocked. If we're going to allow people to use any color they want for the logo, we lose all control of our brand identity.
Again, that's hyperbole, Glenn. You're saying any color. This is restricting them with contrasting rules right here. And so, and again, you're talking about the TCEDs who we're talking about in the chamber, the two parties. These aren't entities that are going to go off and do, laser lights in the middle of the B and and put weird backgrounds behind it. They are not going to do that. And this style guide also restricts them from doing that.
Well, I guess we're down to the question. Do you think there's value of you and I meeting on the side to discuss this? Are you set in your ways and don't
No,
want any
I'm
more
not.
discussion?
We can sit down and discuss this, Glenn. What I would say is I don't see why we couldn't pass this. I think based on my discussions with the TCED's attorney, they have been very, very good discussions, negotiations. The fact that they were willing to hear us out and let us acquire this in and of itself is a wonderful thing. And I have zero worries. Now, there's always a chance, but I don't have any worries that they would have any issues if we wanted to modify the style guide. They would probably be like, yeah, sure, whatever, based on my discussions with them. So I would just say I personally believe this is fine the way it's written, especially with the descriptive, characteristics in the style guide. But if there are things that you provide that you say, hey, it would be better to say this, I'm more than happy to look at that. I am always open to that.
Okay, I think we've had enough lessons in trademark colors. I'm going to bring this to a vote. Oh, there's a motion to table. So we need to vote on that motion. We're going to vote, do you want to table this to the next board meeting?
Postpone to the next board meeting.
Postpone to the next board meeting. So he'll do a roll call vote, please.
Schultz?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
No.
Denham?
No.
Cooper?
No.
Howden?
No.
Lucas?
Yes.
The result of the vote is 2 yeses, 4 noes. Motion to postpone fails.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, let's vote on the motion, on the bill, or the motion on the floor. All in favor, let's do a roll call vote, Hill.
Schultz?
Yes.
LeBlanc?
Yes.
Denham?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Howden?
Yes.
Lucas?
No.
The result of the vote is 5 yes, 1 no. Motion carries.
Thanks, Alan.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution recognizing and establishing the official flag of the city of Branson, Missouri.
Do I have a motion adopting this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Several so moved in several seconds. We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Mr. Marshall Howden.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just as a point of order.
Yes.
I appreciate the conversation that went into the earlier motion to remove this from the agenda, and I'm not trying to thwart that conversation. However, I still remain convicted that in my mind, and I realize that's not the majority of the board, but in my mind that this is not the proper form to bring this up according to our current ordinances. And so also in my mind, when I look at it from a principled position, to participate in this, I would see as a violation of my aldermanic oath, again, in my mind. So to that end, I will ask the clerk to record that the reason for my objection and that I will leave the chambers while this item is discussed and return after it's concluded.
You got that, Hill?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor.
Oh. Well, we have a quorum.
Correct.
So, staff report from Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I'm bringing forward a resolution to establish an official flag for the city of Branson. Throughout history, communities have used flags and civic symbols to represent who they are. Flags tell a story. They become a visual way for residents and visitors alike to recognize a city's identity, its pride, and its sense of place. When people see a city flag flying alongside the American and Missouri flags, it reminds them that the local community also has a shared heritage worth celebrating. As I began thinking about this over the past year, I realized that Branson, despite being one of the most recognizable tourism destinations in America, has never formally established an official city flag. Before leaving office, I felt it would be meaningful to help create something that represents our city in a simple and dignified way. To do that, I reached out to Heather Herman at the Branson Chamber of Commerce. Heather and the Chamber have done a tremendous job stewarding the Branson brand, and I asked if we could develop a flag that features the patriotic version of the Branson City logo. The timing is especially fitting as our country prepares to celebrate America's 250th birthday. Communities across the nation are reflecting on their identity and their place in the American story, and this flag gives Branson a symbol that we can proudly display during that historic milestone and for many years to come. Mayor, when you ask for it, I would move that the board adopt this resolution establishing the official flag of the city of Branson.
Any members of the board have any questions or comments?
I love it.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I?
You bet.
I just want to give a tad bit more history, and I'll do this now as opposed to in my comments, so you don't need to put it on the board when I make my alderman comments, Chad. So when I first kind of had this idea, I didn't really want to design it myself because I'm not a graphic designer, right? Now, I had a couple ideas, Mr. Mayor, like having that logo on the Missouri flag as opposed to the seal of the state of Missouri with the tricolor, which are actually the French colors. And I had sent that to Heather. And Heather actually gave it to Dwayne Stout, he's the Betsy Ross of this flag, I actually have to say. So I want to give a lot of kudos to Dwayne. And she came back to me with a few different designs. So in reviewing those, I actually was just kind of very busy and didn't really have time to bring it forward or even respond to Heather. But she did something kind of amazing, is that she actually printed this flag and hung it outside the chamber building, just as something that they were celebrating. And just it shows another instance of Heather taking the initiative. Guys, this is going to be an incredible symbol that we can not only use for 250, but hopefully many years to come. And so I'm just really proud that we no longer have a surrender flag, and that we have a beautiful flag that can represent our community. And boy, for anyone who says symbols don't matter, I strongly disagree. You think about the War of 1812 and Francis Scott Key sitting in that harbor and looking up at the American flag or anything like that, the pride that can be instituted by something like this, the civic heritage and the symbolism and the opportunity that we have to continue to brand our community under the leadership of Heather Herman. I'm thrilled that we're at this point. I appreciate all the work that Solon's done with it, and thank you guys.
Okay. Any comments? Hearing none. Any comments from anybody in the audience?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. I have a request, since it's about the city flag.
Alex, will you state your name, please?
Yeah, Alex Williams, yeah. So my request is, what is the care plan for our new city flag for maintenance and keeping up on its proper display, respecting its display, its care and use? Reason why, I'm a former instructor of patriotic ed at College of the Ozarks, taught flag study. And right now, I don't know what the care and use looks like for the United States flag and the state of Missouri's flag, but you can often go throughout the city and find that there's tattered flags being flown, not on purpose. It's one thing to do it on purpose, but still to not be thoughtful and being, not flying the flag unilluminated due to timers, due to accidents, oversights, maintenance issues, light bulbs being burned out. Mayor, I've talked to you about it before, and you've been responsive to it, so I appreciate that. Or even the city flagpole. I don't know if it's a maintenance issue, but there's not been a city flag posted for quite some time now. It's probably a maintenance issue with the lanyard, but it's still the point. It's America's 250th birthday. As a combat veteran, too, I fought for that flag. Mayor, you fought for that flag. Ralph, you fought for the flag. Lots of people fought and died for that flag. And so for me, this is great. We talk about symbols, but we also have to respect and just be overly thoughtful towards having a plan in place, because as one resident, I shouldn't run into that many unilluminated flags or tattered flags. And I found it at multiple locations, multiple times this year, and even as recent as last year. So it's not a criticism, it's just a request. If we're gonna take the time to red, white, and blue Branson, it's America's 250th birthday. You know, after April 7th, I've said it myself, I'm a huge advocate of it. I'm not unwilling to go out and lead an initiative on helping remind folks and businesses about the importance of flag study. So it's a request.
Mr. Mayor, if I will. Alex, you're running unopposed on the ballot. I'll cast my vote for you, and I assume if there's no write-ins that you'll be the alderman. So as your constituent, could I ask you that you help formulate a flag care plan for this?
100%.
Cool.
That'd be great. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience? Hearing none, board ready to vote? So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Would you ask Glenn? Oh, here he comes.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6656, an ordinance amending section 95-5 and 94-5 and 94-65 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to definitions and special events.
You've heard the first reading of bill number 6656. Do I have a motion approving this bill?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. I will be providing the report. Okay, this is intended to amend our code ordinance and introduce a new category that we're referring to as legacy events. The proposed code amendment would allow a special event meeting, meeting the definition of a legacy event, be exempt from paying certain permit fees, provided they are still in compliance with other requirements of the code. What spurred this, for several years, I've had residents ask me, I guess those involved with the Adoration Parade, those that put on the Adoration Parade, and the Adoration Parade has been going for, Hill, how long has the Adoration Parade been on?
I think it's like 56 years?
56 years?
Something like that.
And the Veterans Parade has been,
Close to that.
what's that? 92 years. These parades are put on by volunteers, and it is a tremendous amount of work and effort for them to put these on. These are good for the community, and there's been discussion over the past couple years about all they do to put these parades on that benefit the city. Would we consider not charging them an event permit fee? And I felt that was right. I know in Operation Unity, I was questioned again this year for this year's Veterans Parade. They got to pay, I think it's $590. It's not much. But here again, these are volunteers trying to raise money for the event and for the parade. So what I'm proposing is what's up above is the text that's underlined will be added to our code. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, one of the limitations is to be considered a legacy event. They must have provided that event in Branson 25 of the last 50 years. So no one's going to be penalized if they skip a year or even skip a few years. But if they've provided this event within the last 50 years, they provided it for 25 years, they're considered a legacy event.
So is that,
Go ahead.
so that's just automatic? That's not like at discretion? If those are, that
That's
is the
it.
premises, and
Black and
if you
white.
qualify for that, then your fees are waived? So,
Yes.
okay.
Black and white.
Mayor?
Yes.
I like the idea. I think it's really good. Do you know, do these groups, do they charge people to participate in those parades? You know, like, is there a float fee or, you know, or an entrance fee? And let me tell you where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I like what you're trying to do here, but I'm a little concerned that it maybe is a little too broad. Because there's other events that might meet this criteria that we might not be so inclined to do this for.
Well, and that's why I asked what I just asked.
Okay,
because-
so you and I are on the same wavelength.
I see where you're going.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, you know, if they don't charge for their parades, which I assume they don't if the fee's a problem
Yeah.
for them, right? Because it's not a big fee. Could we add something there that effectively says, you know, legacy events that do not charge for participation in their events? Would that still meet your objective for these groups?
Yes.
Because that way we can exclude the other events from this automatic freebie.
Yeah, I'm tracking what you're saying. I'm just questioning.
You know what I'm talking about for the
No,
other?
No, that's where I'm stuck.
Clay will whisper to you.
Clay?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what he was talking about, but I have a pretty good idea. But I
Well,
see what you're saying.
okay,
If they're charging money,
Yeah, regardless.
Yeah,
So,
we have other events downtown. I've had other events downtown where they charge substantial fees for people to participate, and it's used as a fundraising event. And I don't think that would be right, to
Okay.
tell those groups, right, that they can
fair
get
enough.
free.
So I'll entertain a proposed amendment. Glenn?
I don't know exactly where to amend it. Can maybe the attorney suggest something here?
Sure.
Seems like it would go in the definition of a legacy event. You know, like just add it to the end and something to the effect and does not charge any participation fees.
could I ask also, would it make sense to just name the two parades that you named?
We don't want to.
Well, you got to keep it broad so that anyone that
Has to
falls
apply
within
to
that category has the opportunity
Okay.
for that. So I think what Glenn said is probably a good, we'll just find a way to add in
Could we go after?
one that's not, that doesn't charge. And the other thing I was thinking of, and I was just going to wait and see if you guys came up with it because I don't want to butt in, but you could also, on top of that, put something that says, you know, 50 of the last 100 years. After what I heard, it sounds like that might also help.
That, or at the end of line 32, make it a comma that says, that does not charge participation fees or admission fees.
Yeah, participation or admission, something like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we didn't want to say continuously, because if one of these has to skip a year. You want to penalize them? Yeah. So what we added there is where the event does not charge participation or admission fees. You good with the guy, Glenn?
Yeah, I'll make that motion for an amendment.
I would, before you do say exactly what your motion was, did I catch that? I might also remove the word separate, just because, I don't know, I just don't like that for some reason. It's just kind of seems, just say at least 25 years within the
Preceding
proceeding.
50.
They don't have to be separate, they can be consecutive, they can be separate, but if you
Okay.
put the word separate, it kind of gets a little.
Glenn, was that in your motion also?
Yeah, let's do that as a second motion, just so we don't
Okay.
mess ourselves up here.
Did you have something, Kathy?
I did. I think, Solon, when we were talking about the wording on this, we just wanted to make sure that it wasn't inferred or interpreted as 25 consecutive years. And that's why we put the separate years to be distinct about that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I know we had that discussion.
But doesn't the word within kind of cover that? I mean, 25 years within.
It's probably not a big deal either way. I think you could do it either way. But
Okay, the motion.
well, I think that I don't know. I think separate probably coming out is probably just cleaner, because I think you can still accomplish the task.
Okay, right now, the motion on the floor is to add the words where the event does not charge participation or admission fees on line 32. Any discussion from the board?
I think that's a good add.
Okay, any input from the audience?
Don't be throwing a wrench in it, Daniel. Look at you.
I'm just thinking more how to draw revenue in from other sources. So,
Daniel, please state your name.
Daniel.
You have a last name, Daniel?
Meaning. So I just was thinking, you're thinking about charging events charging admin fees or fees for general public to get into. What about vendor fees? There's a whole bunch of other ways that an event can not charge the general public to make money, but they can charge vendors to come in and have a booth or charge for a space. So just because they're not recouping the money off of general admin fees, what about vendor fees? If you waive a permit fee, are they still recouping the money other ways and still becoming profitable?
Solon, is that your intent of participation fees?
Yeah, I guess it would probably include that, yes. So if you don't like that, then you know how to vote.
No, I think your point is we should include it if that's what that does,
If you're
right?
trying to make it so that these legacy events aren't
Making money somehow when we're giving them a free permit.
correct.
That was what my idea of the word participation was, however it is, to floats, to vendors, to whatever. They can't charge participation fees. So I think that would cover your example.
But maybe clarifying the definition of the participation fee, possibly. Because it could be interpreted differently based on who's sitting in the chair on the aldermen's boards or executing the permit fee.
So
Just a thought.
Thanks, Daniel. Any other questions from the board? We have a motion and a second on the floor.
I think we're good with the amendment for now. I
Okay.
am anyhow, I'm
Okay.
good with the amendment.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Now, do we want to come back to amending
The word
or
separate.
eliminating the word separate? Are you still of that mind?
Yeah, I think the intent of that was not to assume it's contiguous, 25 contiguous years. If there was a hiccup for any reason,
Well, you could say contiguous or non-contiguous if you want to be real succinct.
is the board okay with?
So just as a, yeah, so I'll make the motion to strike the word separate and insert the words contiguous or non-contiguous years.
Great. So we have a motion on the floor to remove the word separate and insert contiguous or non-contiguous.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Ayes have it. With that said, Kathy, with that said, we're going to take a vote on Bill number 6656.
As amended.
As amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Ayes have it. Thank you.
Your Honor, this is the first reading of Bill number 6657, an ordinance amending section 6-31 of the Branson Municipal Code pertaining to liquor licenses.
For the first reading of Bill number 6657, do I have a motion approving this bill?
So move.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, thank you, Mayor, Board, Administrator Stepp. Currently, our city code allows for 18 licenses for the sale of liquor in original packaging. 17 of those licenses are currently active, leaving only one remaining license available. Due to the growing interest from the businesses seeking these licenses, staff worked with legal to review the current code language and bring forward an amendment that provides additional clarity and capacity moving forward. The proposed amendment would allow the city to issue up to 30 licenses for liquor in its original package, while also outlining eligibility standards for retail businesses. In addition, 8 of those licenses would be reserved for qualifying convenience stores that meet certain operational criteria. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
What are those 8 licenses? What are the requirements for that?
Sure. So for those 8 licenses, those that qualify will need to sell gasoline, groceries, and food for consumption on the premise, and provide a minimum of 600 square feet dedicated solely to restaurant seating, and display all intoxicating liquor for sale in a portion of the store farthest from the main entrance. And these are what is currently in code. We really only changed the number of licenses from 18 to 30. All of the other language is still there. It's just formatted a little differently and reads more clearer.
Questions from the board? Glenn.
Yeah, so I have to admit, my head hurt reading through this section of code. Because it, and I even went to the state statutes hoping for clarification because we often reference state licenses and those kind of things. And I'm really struck first by the fact that the state uses some pretty clear language when they talk about consumption on site or not, right? So I'm not sure what our licenses are really doing, so I'm sure you can explain it to me. First, the first 2 that are way at the top of the screen right now, sale of malt liquor. So that's beer and malt liquor in an original package. We can only have 3 licenses for that, right? So this is people that just want to sell beer and malt liquor in original packages. There's only 3 of those allowed. So they don't want all the other alcoholic beverages, I'm assuming. They just want beer and malt liquor.
I apologize. What section are you at?
Line 39.
Okay, let me look here where I can see.
Right, that's what that says.
It should be on the screen in front of you as well, if that helps, Amanda.
So right now, that's correct. We have 3 of those licenses where we're trying to designate 8. Does that make sense?
That's what I'm wondering. So first, do you know how many of those licenses on line 39 are issued right now? Do you have any?
Excuse me, Glenn. I think that this whole ordinance needs to be looked at. What I would suggest is why don't we vote on the issue at hand, and then spend the time to go through this. This needs a lot of cleanup.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to get my sense of where we're going with the 30. I'm trying to work my way into that. I'm not trying to debate the existing language. I just want to understand how this 30 fits into these others. That's my only intent.
Right, so we're adding an additional, I think it's 12, and the 3 would be replaced with 8. The 3 that we have currently.
I'm not sure that, I don't read it that way, and but this is where my question is. So let me just say what I see, and then you tell me where I'm wrong. So on line 43 is really the start of the amendment, right?
Yes, correct, and all the language is pretty much the same. You'll just see it to where the formatting is different.
Yeah, I get that. But the sale of intoxicating liquor, now that's different than malt liquor,
Yes.
which is beer and malt liquor, right? So intoxicating liquor is really all the liquors, including
In the
beer and
original
malt liquor, right?
package, yes.
In the original package. And so that's what you're wanting to expand from 18 to 30.
Correct.
And then the convenience stores keep 8 of those 30 licenses just for convenience stores.
Under those stipulations,
Is
yes.
that right?
Correct.
Okay, so now the part that I can't sort out just by reading the code and the amendments in particular is, what is that convenience store really doing with that license? Is your intent that they're selling packaged alcohol that people are going to consume off premise? Or does it allow for the possibility, because there's a restaurant there, that they can walk into the convenience store, buy a bottle of Jack Daniel's, sit down in the restaurant and drink it dry?
Yeah, I would have to agree that this code probably in a whole needs to be looked at. There's a lot of information that's extremely confusing. This was brought about to staff and legal upon my vacation, and they really were just trying to tackle the issue at hand right now, which is that we have a lot of businesses that are coming into, there's an influx in commercial properties coming into the city, and we don't want to slow anyone down with the build of their convenience store or anything of that sort. We have a big plate coming to us for Gretna on that project. There's going to be a lot of different facilities going in there, and we just want to secure those investors a peace of mind that they're not going to have a problem.
Fair enough. So forget what the language says. Just tell me what you interpret the intent of this to be. Is in the case of a convenience store that's got one of these 8 licenses that qualifies for it, is your intent that they could consume that alcohol sitting there in the restaurant, or is your intent that they only can buy the alcohol and walk out the door with it?
I would have to look at Missouri state statute just to see. I don't have an answer for you for that right now on my intent of what that means. It's something that I haven't had an opportunity to look into as far as state regulations, and oftentimes the state regulations will supersede the city regulations.
And that's where I'm kind of at. I look at it and I see the new section and I get the reformatting of it.
It's easier to read, but
it just kind of leaves, you still read through it and you say, what are we really approving? And you can't walk away with that understanding.
Well, I think that you would also have to bring in another aspect of that, and that is, business license. If you have a restaurant there, it depends on what type of liquor license you have for that restaurant. So it could vary depending on what that business model is.
And I don't know that these convenience stores will qualify for a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, if they have 600 square feet of dedicated restaurant space, they would qualify under that 8, but yeah, it really breaks down to the business model and what's being presented, and I can't hardly speak to that because I don't have a particular application in front of me for a particular type of business. So if that business has a liquor license attached with its restaurant and a catering liquor license, there's so many different ones, and it gets extremely confusing, and I do agree that this, as a whole, this part of our code does need to be looked at.
Glenn, do you want me to opine? Thank you. So if you look at the, let's see, section It's going to be line 52. It says the city may issue up to 30 licenses authorizing the sale of intoxicating liquor in the original package. So I think everyone in here knows and can appreciate that that means in a bottle, closed, in a box, however that, Now, whether or not someone opens that in the store, after they purchase it, which I think is what you're asking, right? Can they open it in the store and start drinking it, right? So the store is not supposed to be serving it, opening it and serving it to them, but they can always, we can't tell them they can't open a bottle on their way out, so.
I thought that was against the law.
There's earlier language that says we do regulate the consumption of the alcohol as well.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, permitted drinking, in line 29, permitted drinking or consumption of alcoholic beverages.
And this is where my head hurts, right? Because I really want to focus on what we're being asked to vote for, and yet I can't exactly sort out what we're approving.
I think in a nutshell, we're just approving additional license. Now, how that falls into play will be the business model and what's presented to us at the time of the application for the license.
And what I'll tell you is that as I looked at other cities, to be honest and frank with you, they don't actually limit it. They just say, you can buy it.
Yeah.
You can have this many licenses, and they don't go into these particulars. I assumed, based on, Branson's history, that there was some historical reasons why they wanted to keep some limitations. And so
Yes, there was.
rather than, opening the floodgates of, 1 million permits and licenses for alcohol, we just decided to up the number from 18 to 30. And so, we can definitely work at simplifying this if you'd like us to come back to the drawing board, but as it stands, it's been operating just fine. If we wanted to up it to 30, we can up it to 30. It's up to you, but.
So I guess another question kind of related to this, to the amendments, is so we're reserving 8 licenses for convenience stores that meet that definition. That's clear. But that doesn't say we'll only issue 8 licenses, right? If there were 20 general licenses left, can a convenience store presumably could get one of those as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we could be up to 20 convenience
That's
stores.
correct. Yep. So we talked about this when we were going over it, and and that's how the code was written before. There was at least 3 reserved for convenience stores. So I don't know what the original policy was of the Board of Aldermen, but I was trying to keep in the spirit of it and still say, hey, we're going to still keep some reserved for convenience stores. And then, we just increased that number to 8. So
Do you
can have
get,
it.
is this immediate request that you're dealing with, is it a convenience store or is it something else?
Well, it's a convenience store, one of the,
It's a convenience store that wants to come in with potentially 2 different convenience stores, yes, and they're very nice convenience.
And we're out of licenses, general
no,
licenses.
we've got one, and they only need one, right? However, they would feel more comfortable bringing their commercial business into an area where they could possibly expand.
Are you telling me that right now there's only 3 convenience stores in town that,
No.
No.
There's one license left that's available from the city.
We
So
have
if 2
8.
convenience stores wanted to come in, we'd say yes to one
oh,
and no to the other.
yeah, my
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what is the reason to set aside 8 for the convenience stores? If you
I
go up
think
to
we were-
30, could you just hack out the whole convenience store restriction? Or
I guess
set
you could.
aside?
I don't really know the meaning behind that. I don't know if anybody is here that knows the reason behind that. I don't know why you couldn't.
I can share a little bit of insight there. So like if you think about places like potentially, big box stores that sell alcohol or other places. So you're saying, hey, we want to preserve some convenience store because, I've worked with this convenience store to try to, convince them that, just start building and, the ones that are available, most likely they'll still be there. But, they need assurances that these are still going to be here for them to make those investments. And that's totally understandable. And so, the point is that you want to be able to have a convenience store, like that's a big mix of their revenue, right? So if they can't be assured that there's at least some for convenience stores reserved, then you're going to start seeing a lack of convenience stores in town, lack of access to, gasoline and all, the convenience of a convenience store. So the idea was that we would preserve at least some for those guys.
And right now, there's 3 under the old?
Yeah, right now there's 3. Obviously, there's more than 3 convenience stores in town, but the code said at least we had to have 3, which honestly, that probably was from a long time ago.
Probably so.
Okay, so the question at hand is,
I'm going to try and do a wrap-up here. And I know it's brain damage on this one, because we kind of went through it internally too, and we were talking about it. Our goal is to increase more capacity so that we get more investment in the city where we're looking to grow, and that people aren't going to invest if they're not sure that there's enough capacity for them to get a license. So that's really all it is. At first, when we were talking about this, I'll share with you, I was like, why do we have any limits or caps at all on this? Why don't we just blow the whole thing up? And we thought that might be too big or controversial of a move. And I thought, okay, let's start with this change, increase capacity of available licenses, and then we can come back and clean up the rest of it at, later on. But we just wanted to be able to, we're getting lots of inquiries, guys, from investors all over the country that are looking to come here. And most notably because of the exposure and, the news on our TIF project. So Branson's open for business. People are getting that message, and we just didn't want to continue discouraging that investment.
yep,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, Artie?
I'm kind of like Clay, though. I find it hard to fathom that there are only 15 places total in Branson right now that sell alcohol.
I don't think that's what she said.
Well, she said that there were 3 licenses for convenience stores and 12 of the 13 licenses for restaurants and the things.
Yeah,
Now,
let me clarify on that a little bit. So there's 18 total, and I think maybe what's confusing is that there's some set aside, right? That's what seems to be the confusion here. Why 3, why 8? There's 18 total.
it still seems like way
So,
under the places you can buy
There is a
it now.
category up here, and it's been a second since I did this, and it is mind-numbing, I will agree with you. There is a category up here that doesn't have a limit on it. So
It's down below.
Okay, so that would account for,
Yeah, line 73, I think is what you're looking for.
Because again, it'll be the type of business, right? It'll determine what type of liquor license, because there's more than just a liquor license. You've got your catering liquor license. You've got other license that,
I'm just wondering, Artie, are you saying retail places for alcohol, or?
yeah. Restaurants alone, yeah, probably. There's more than 18 that serve liquor.
Okay, I would implore the board to consider voting, knowing that the intent of this is simply to increase capacity, knowing we're going to want to go back, and there's a lot of language in here that needs cleaning up.
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
People get confused when they come in to apply for liquor
But
license.
we don't want to be discouraging businesses from moving to Branson.
And I would add to that, just to put a little bit more urgency on the relook of this thing, is it can also cause lawsuits when language is poorly implemented and subject to interpretation.
Sure. I hope that legal being involved in the drafting of this, we've avoided that.
thanks for the smile there, Glenn. I actually, frankly, when I looked through this, you guys, while it is mind-numbing, if you spend the time going through it, you see where everything is separated out, just like Artie's question, oh, that doesn't make sense, but if you actually spend time with the words, it's really not that much that needs to be cleaned up, if anything, but it could be made clearer, like, maybe we don't restrict it and have all these different categories, and I think that's what is mind-numbing, is that we have a lot of categories. And so just deciphering and holding those all in your head at the same time can seem mind-numbing, but it's not necessarily poorly written.
Also,
If I can, just to expand on the need to really go after this ordinance after we get through this stage, is there's definitions in there that are just crazy.
Yeah.
Like malt liquor and beer is defined as not requiring a license if it's below 3.2% volume by weight. By weight. There is nobody nobody in this industry that does anything by weight. It's by volume. And that's repeated a couple other times throughout the code.
One
And
thing
then the definition of malt liquor and beer is reincorporated into the definition of intoxicating liquor, and then that lowers it to 0.5%.
Okay.
So it really does need work.
It does need
Okay.
work. I also, we have regulations too with the state. So they have to get a state license and a city license, right? And so there's a lot that will need to go into this and cross-referencing those and making sure that we're on track and not repetitive. And honestly, the formatting would be, I think, a lot clearer for people to understand if we take some time and look through that.
So tonight, we're looking at addressing this bill, increasing the limits from 18 to 30. And that's what we're going to be voting on. And I believe all of us will acknowledge there's a lot of language in not only this bill, but many other bills that needs to be cleaned up. Okay, so let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the police department to apply for a Missouri Department of Transportation grant to fund driving while intoxicated traffic enforcement within the city of Branson, Missouri.
Do I have adopting this resolution? A motion adopting this resolution.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll get a staff report from Dale Burnett. Hello, Dale.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. This refers to a grant program through the Missouri Department of Transportation to help fund intoxicated driving enforcement. We are seeking authorization to apply for $8,000 to cover overtime funds for intoxicated driving enforcement.
Is it wild that we just opened up the liquor license more and
Yeah.
then followed with this?
It's not lost on me, but happy to answer any questions.
So Dale, the request is $8,000
That's correct.
for,
Targeted enforcement of intoxicated driving offenses. This would be above and beyond our normal patrol efforts.
any questions, comments from the board? Kathy? You're good? Any questions, comments from the audience? Hearing none, board, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Your Honor, the next item is a resolution authorizing the police department to apply for the Missouri Department of Transportation Highway Safety Program grant to fund hazardous moving violation enforcement within the city of Branson.
Have a motion adopting this resolution.
So moved.
A motion is second. Staff report from Dale.
Second verse, very similar to the first. This is a grant program through the Missouri Department of Transportation for hazardous moving violations, speeding, stop signs, that sort of thing. We are seeking your authorization to apply for $16,568 in funding. Some of that is overtime and some of that is equipment, some new radar units.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Clay, did you get fair warning there? Any questions, comments from the board? Anybody in the audience? Hearing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Burnett. We are now at the report section. Let's start off with Alderman Schultz.
No report.
Ralph LeBlanc.
I'm good, Mr. Mayor.
Wow. Ruth Denham.
Sure, I have a couple of funnies. You guys think this ordinance over alcohol that we just went through, that's a piece of cake compared to Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, right? So, and then Allison and Cindy Shook, kudos to them. If there was $1 hidden under a rock at the bottom of Table Brock Lake, they would find it so that they could do something for this city. And also I heard concerns regarding Citizen Serve. And I've never had a problem going in with Citizen Serve, but I thought, well, people are saying that they have concerns. So I went to planning and I sat with Nikki, and it really is so simplified. And I really appreciated her going through it with me. She said to let anybody who has any problem with it to come in and visit with her. So then I went home and I got my 5-year-old grandson and I brought him to the computer, and the kid could kind of figure out things by looking at the pictures and sounding out the words because he's kind of reading already. And it's really easy to go through. So if you have concerns, please contact Nikki. She will walk you through it. Although I don't think most people will need that, but because it is very simple to use. A 5-year-old can do it. But thanks so much for all the efforts, as usual, from that department.
Kathy, when did we launch this new version of Citizen Serve? Okay, so for the public, it's only been launched a few weeks ago, and I too have here. Thank you, Artie. So I've heard issues with Citizen Serve over the years, for sure. Just a few weeks ago, there's been a new version launched. So what I want to encourage everybody to get the word out to the contractors that are justifiably angry at Citizen Serve to go in and give it a try and see what they think. So moving on to reports, we have Clay.
Oh, me? I as well was very excited to see the theaters up 22% in tax revenue. That's, I know we had a great year last year, and we're looking for another great season this year. I'm celebrating my 40th year of entertaining Branson.
Wow.
That's right, 40 years. I know. Started when I was a baby. That's right. But anyhow, no, and I'm just excited to be a part of this community and in the show business and to sit on this board and looking forward to a great celebration of 250. It's going to be unreal. We opened our show on Sunday and we put in a all-new patriotic tribute and everything. It's just, it never amazes me to see these veterans stand up in front of me and wiping tears off their cheek when I'm talking to them. So I think this year is going to be even more special than any year we've ever experienced when it comes to the patriotism. So I'm fired up, and I love your flag, Marshall. Can I hang one at the theater, or is there an ordinance that says only city property, or?
Heather, let's get one for Clay.
I'll pay for it.
You have to get a permit.
I've been here over 25 years, Mayor, so I should be getting my fees waived. I'm done.
Marshall? Artie?
I know that some of you may be sad to hear this, but I'm never leaving Branson. I was thinking about it the other day when Nancy and I were walking, and gosh, we love this place so much, in spite of Sullen and, and some of the things that, we heard tonight, but.
You need to push your button, please.
It is. But no, we really do appreciate it. And also, it's good to see our interim fire chief here tonight. And just so y'all know, when it comes time to vote for the new chief, I'm supporting him.
Okay. Thank you. Kathy? You're good? I think I'm going to be good also. I do, just like Artie said, there is so much in Branson to love. This is my forever home, and I just love it. I love it. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.